Whoops, I was a little late on that one. Hey guys, welcome to tonight's Getting Tune. I am Michael Grassi, and I have a wonderful show planned. Sorry, my table here is all a little messy right now for me to lean my arm. Uh, so yeah, I got a great show. Actually, I have a lot of great shows coming up, and I hope everybody's all set for them. Tonight, I have a great. And he's an indie creator. He's a writer. I think he's got a really fun comic. In the first issue that he let me read. The second issue is going to be up on Kickstarter. I'm going to talk about it tonight. There's a lot of things I want to chat with him. He seems like a really cool guy. Let's bring on. If I can get my mouse to it. Hold on. Where is it? Here it is. Sorry, I got three screens. Will Stone. Sorry about that. Hey, how you doing?
How you doing, Michael?
Good, good. Let me adjust so I can be on camera a little bit as well here. Uh,
Okay.
I forgot to plug in a different camera, and I'm using my Mac here, so
All right.
it was time. So first of all, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. Secondly, is my fan bothering you? That's right next to me. Can you hear that?
I couldn't even hear it, so you're
Awesome,
good.
awesome. Um, so again, thank you for coming on. You have a Kickstarter, which we'll get into, but Will Stone, which I think is an awesome name, by the way, for like
Oh,
a
thank
writer.
you.
I think it sounds like it's just a really cool name for that. But um, but yeah, so for the audience who's not familiar with you, can you tell us about yourself? Uh, kind of like your history with comics, what got you into comics, maybe who some of your inspirations are,
Yeah,
and
yeah, I'd
uh,
love to.
yeah, we'll go into from there.
So a little bit about myself. My name's Will Stone, obviously. I am originally from Virginia. I currently live in Arkansas.
Okay.
Um, I ended up moving here after I got out of the military. I was in the Navy for about 13 years. Me and my wife both got out, and we
Both of you.
decided,
Wow.
yeah, we was both in the Navy, and we got out. We moved here. We had kids. Life happened. We currently
Mhm.
have 5 kids.
Wow. Okay.
And it's some days you want to pull your hair out, and some days you just kind of put it on autopilot. But comics have been my safe place for years, man.
Mhm.
I've loved reading comics since I remember learning how to read. So I was like 6, 8.
Mhm.
Always loved it.
Yeah.
I think what got me into comics was initially I always was fascinated with the superheroes and the magic and all that stuff. But I had a grandfather who he had a suitcase full of old Silver Surfer Archie comics, like way the '60s comics, and he
Mhm.
never let me touch them. And then he found out that I liked them, and he was like, "You know what? You can have the whole thing." So he just gave them to me, and I was like a kid in a candy store. And then I still have those comics even now. And he passed away a while back, but that's been something I've been a collector like my whole life.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's going far. So you've been collecting even before me. I started in when I was 13 in '89. So
Okay, okay.
I've been I got into comics a little later than you, but that was well, comic books. I was always a strip guy.
Oh,
Um, so who are some of your favorite like comic characters? You were into the superheroes, you said. So
yes. Let me see. Of course, the cliche one is Batman. I think my first, if I remember correctly, my first one was like a detective comic that I got, and that's away from Marvel. Was more like my grandpa gave me the Marvel, the Archies, Casper, stuff like that. But Batman was always my favorite because of the animated series that came out,
mhm.
and then X-Men. I've loved X-Men since I first knew what X-Men was. So I think when I organize my comics every so many years just to see what I got and put them, the nerd thing. We got to catalog your stuff, and I have like boxes of X-Men comics from different periods of the series, and that's been a huge inspiration for me. But yeah, I love X-Men,
Mhm.
Batman, Thor. Right now, and I got into Moon Knight. Lately I've been reading a lot of the Thundercat stuff, like recent stuff.
The new stuff, you mean?
Like
Or
the new stuff, yeah, it's pretty good.
I haven't read it yet.
It's been pretty good.
I don't have a local store by me anymore. I know I say
Mhm.
this on every episode because every time I talk comics, it's like a new thing to my guests, but my
Right.
audience must be bored with it. I lost like two comic shops in my area in like 2 years, so
Oh,
I
dang.
haven't bought floppies in such a long time. Like at least regularly, maybe
Mhm.
I'll be visiting a town or whatever. I go into a comic shop, I'll pick up something. Um, the only thing I was regularly reading and then it ended was the new Gotchaman series. Um, that was so I bought the first trade recently because
Mhm.
I forget how many issues it collected. Say it was the first 10 issues. I think
Yeah.
it's a little less, but I read everything up until the last issue that was in there.
Mhm.
So I had to go buy that just to go to the end of the book to find out what happened. So I'll be buying the next one
Okay.
again. That was I was a big Battle of the Planets kid,
Ah, okay.
so that was a big one for me. So when that came back out, I was excited.
Yeah, I like being open to different stories. I don't think there's been a comic that I'm like, yeah, I'm never touching that. The older I get, the more I start to dive into things that I normally like. Conan the Barbarian,
Hmm.
I like that. I have the old Conans. I used to read those, and then
Yeah,
I didn't have any money, so I just kept rereading the same comics over and over again. So, when I got older and I got money, it was like I want everything. But it's probably best you don't have a local shop because I stay broke because I do
yeah,
have one.
yeah. I just shared an Instagram reel from somebody else that I saw, and it just cracked me up. And it was like I have to go back and watch it, but this guy was like, I don't think I'll ever be able to get out of this escape room. And this wife was like, this is a bookstore. He's like, oh, and it was just comics galore. And I was like,
Yeah,
yep, this is me. This is me going into a comic shop.
if you want to kidnap me, man, it's just like on that Family Guy episode with what's his name? He used to leave the little candy tray.
Oh, James, James, what the
I
hell is his
can't
name?
I can't
Uh,
remember it right now. I cannot remember his name to save my life, but that episode cracks me
I
up.
know,
I'm
like,
like,
ooh, a piece of candy. Ooh, a
yep,
piece of
yep.
candy.
I'm like that with a comic book. I'm like, oh, okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay. Then hours pass, and I'm like, oh shit, got stuff to do.
yeah, yeah. It's but that I miss the stores. I really do because there's that whole weird camaraderie that you like people you don't know and
Hmm.
you're just hanging out and it's like the most fun you'll have all week, you know?
Yeah. As an adult,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't get a lot of general adult interaction. Being, you got kids, you're busy. Me and my spouse, we're both doing stuff all the time. But
Yeah.
then I think Wednesdays I get to go to my local comic book shop. I think it's 501 Comics for us. And I go there and I just get to be free with other nerds who are just like, hey, and we can just talk shit. And
Yeah.
that has been cool recently.
Have you gotten your kids into comics? Like, do you bring them with you and they pick out stuff now, or?
Yeah, my my daughter's 13, and I've been dragging her along to conventions and comic stores since she was born.
No, she's 13, so that's middle school. So she's more manga, or is she reading actual like comic books, like American books?
She's starting to get into anime. She doesn't read manga, but she did find this Minecraft that they did like a manga
Yeah.
style
Okay.
Minecraft story. She was like, "Dad, I like this. Can you get this for me?" I was like, "You like? Yeah, yeah, I get it for her." And free comic book day, and it's been a few books where she jumps on them, like the Donald Duck, not Looney Tunes, Mickey Mouse books, like the
Mhm.
Disney's ones. She loves those, Scrooge, and
I'm a let me tell you, Uncle Scrooge is my all-time favorite Disney
uh,
character. I have a bunch of the. I don't know. They're not even around me here. Oh, well, you can't really see them. They're covered. But I got like what is that? One, two, three, four, five, six. Well, five of the Fantagraphic thing, and then
mhm.
there's like another three or four Scrooge books in there, and I got Mickey Mouse, Donald. I freaking love love those. I think some of those might be the best books
Mhm.
ever made.
They're pretty good, and I'm proud that she likes them, and I didn't like push her into that direction because
Yeah.
if it was me, I'd be like, hey, you need to read this new Storm. This cover is really good. And she's like, ah, oh, Donald Duck, okay. I'm like, ah. whatever.
Let them listen. Let them read. I remember doing an appearance at a comic shop, and I wanted to go yell at a customer because there was a kid. He was probably around your daughter's age. I think a little younger.
Yeah,
And was that my
no,
phone going off?
that's
No, sorry.
mine. Let me check.
Okay, no, it's no big deal. I'm just expecting a text. But it was, and I have like all of them, but the kid was wanted to buy a Smurfs book, and I love the Smurfs.
Yeah,
And the mom was angry because it's like the Smurfs are for kids, and that he should be reading like Superman or Spider Man. And I'm like, I wanted to go, yeah, no, he's reading. He's reading. That's the
yes.
important thing.
Just be glad he even gives a
Yeah.
damn.
And I go, the Smurf books are fantastic. You know, they're
Mhm.
not just for kids. I mean, sure, here in America we market it towards kids,
Yeah.
but in Europe it's a huge thing for everybody, and or at least was at one point.
Hmm.
And you know, if you read it, it's not like the cartoon. I mean, they take the stories and turn them into cartoons, but they're a little kidified for the Saturday morning cartoons they did because you know certain characters like Papa Smurf, he's actually a jerk. You know, when you
Papa Smirk's an asshole.
yeah, I know, but you know, look at the old Mickey Mouse books. I mean, well, oh no, not the Mickey Mouse. Sorry, the Mickey Mouse cartoons, the old Mickey Mouse cartoons. Mickey was a jerk. You look at Steamboat Willie playing crazy, all those
Yeah.
things. He was a jerk. But you look at the Mickey comics,
Hmm.
like the old strips.
Yeah.
He was a great adventurer. He was Uncle Scrooge before it was Uncle Scrooge. You
See,
know,
that's pretty cool.
it's like really cool stuff. So the things are different from medium to medium.
Mhm.
It's just really interesting. I love when we can get kids reading uh, into into other things. And I'm not going to knock superheroes because I love them too, but into things that aren't just superheroes. I like to
Yeah.
see all of the excellent. And I actually, because I have worked with kids for a while, I do see kids leaning away from superheroes outside of the movies. When they go to books, they're not looking for superhero books.
Yeah. I think I do see them leaning towards something that is unknown to them that
Mhm.
pops out to them on the shelf and it's like, "Ooh, what is this?" And then to us, if we've been around long enough, you're like, "Oh, I remember that when I was a kid." And it's cool to see the next generation discover it and it's like, "Did you know about this?" And I'm like, "Dude, I watched that when I was 6." But yeah, it's new to you, so knock yourself out. That's cool.
Yeah, oh, it's great. I love all that. That's actually what I try to do with my work is kind of take different eras that
Hmm.
I enjoyed and try to kind of modernize them so the audience can get a new take on. I don't want to say a take on like I mentioned. I was a big Battle of the Planets fan. I'm not going to redo Battle of the Planets, but if I wanted
Right.
to do something in that vein,
Yeah.
you know, I would take my influence and I would go back and rewatch all the cartoons and you
Hmm.
know get an idea of what kind of story was great and try to adjust it for today's audience with my own characters. So that's kind of what I do with my. But it doesn't have to be just manga Battle of the Planets. I like I mentioned, I'm a huge Smurfs fan. So what would
Hmm.
I do if I wanted to do the Smurfs? What if I wanted to do my own Superman? What would you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, you could make your own version of
yeah.
the Smurfs. Well, and I don't that
I
probably
don't know.
could
They
be
already got the Snorks, so who knows? And they're coming back. So,
really
yep. I
okay.
saw I saw a post. I don't know if you're familiar with the artist Dave Alvarez, but I follow him on social media, and he posted some Snorks work that he's been doing. So,
Really?
Dave
Okay.
Alvarez, go check out his Facebook stuff, or I don't know if he has an Instagram, but just go check it out. He's done some new stuff. It's gorgeous.
Okay, I'll be on the lookout for it then. I'll check it out.
So yeah, so okay, so you're a big Batman fan. That's great. I've always been more of a Nightwing guy, but
Mhm,
I think I don't know when I grew up. I think, and this might be part of the reason. One of the first books I bought for myself in 1989
mhm.
was a DC. It was a DC Teen Titans annual, and it retold the origin of Dick Grayson going from Robin to Nightwing.
Nightwing?
Yeah,
Oh,
and I
okay.
was like, oh, I I just love that story so much, and I think that's why I like him better than Batman.
That's fair enough.
But I also bought a Batman annual that year too,
Mhm.
Day. I remember. I bought that. I
Yeah,
bought Daredevil and I bought a Spider-Man, but can't remember those two. They didn't stick out to me
I
like the
know
other.
Spider-Man is popular. I looked at my collection. I was like, I don't have as much Spider-Man as I thought I did. And I guess I liked him. He just wasn't like my go-to. Batman, I know for a kid, I'm like, he's brooding, he's punching people, and he's got the whole scare tactics, and I don't know why I loved it.
No, no, he's a great character. I think he's a. I mean, I got tired of the whole "I'm Batman." That's why things got done the way it happened. But
Yeah.
I like when they do like or the older books when it was like real detective stories almost.
Yes.
That was really good Batman.
Yeah,
Re-
I miss that sometimes, and it depends on the writer. Some writers can get, I think, the version of Batman like you're talking, the detective version, where it's like, okay, he's using his skills, he's actually doing the work, he's getting it done, he's showing you the process, and you're like, okay, he's smarter than he's not just a rich boy with anger issues, you know.
I remember. I don't remember who put it out, but I always like the description that he's Sherlock Holmes in a bat costume. That's
Yes,
how I've always liked the description of him.
that's
You
my
know,
Batman too.
just like with Superman, Superman isn't who he is; it's what he can do.
Hmm.
That's my favorite. Like when that's how they use Superman. You know, and I'm a even a bigger Superman fan. I got a big shelf of Superman stuff right up there. But yeah, actually, it's right here. I'll show you this. This
Okay.
is a really cool piece since you're a Batman fan.
Hmm.
I don't know when this came out. It was somewhere in the early '90s with Batman the animated series. I haven't even opened it up. A friend kind of I don't know if he sold it to me or traded it with me. But do you remember anything like this here? It was a Whitman's chocolate Batman thing, and it came with chocolate inside. But
Yeah.
then it also came with a little Batman that I haven't taken.
Okay, that's cool.
I'm like, okay, so like when I got it, I think I paid either $10 or we traded $10 of value. I'm like, I love this thing.
See, I would have kept it too. I probably keep that forever, just to be
Yeah,
like,
I'll put them here.
got this back in the day.
Yeah.
I remember my parents got me like this. Was it from Batman the movie? It was like an audio. It was on a cassette tape. That's all I remember.
Oh, I got one of those.
It was the audio game, and it came with cards, and you put the cassette tape in, and then you had to like play along with it. But it was a game, and then they'd be like turn to side B, and you would just. It was pretty much taken from, I think, what was the one with the Riddler and Two Face in it? The Batman
Oh, the
movie.
movie, that was the Val Kilmer one, Batman
Yes,
Forever.
Batman Forever, right? And it was just I played that little game. I played it probably till the tape went out, and it was the simplest little shit. But for a kid, I was just like ah, and it was kind of like it was playing like the sound effects from the animated series, and then you would hear like the police cars and the sirens, and then they're like, oh, you're trying to help Batman take out the villains, and you got to flip the cards and all. It was silly, but
Yeah,
that was one
that,
of my best memories as a kid.
I actually don't have that. I have I think it's from the '80s. It was a Batman and Robin audio book. So like you read along with the book, but you heard the voices on the tape.
Hmm.
And I have a Wonder Woman. They're both in my closet. Otherwise, I'd be able to have access to them. But
Oh,
I
okay.
think they're so cool. That the Wonder Woman one, a friend of mine gave me.
Hmm.
He was like, I don't want this. You want? I'm like, hell yeah. I mean, it's 1980s Wonder Woman. I have a Batman. I mean, it'll go
Why
great.
not?
Yeah, why not? I don't get rid of that stuff.
Yeah.
So, okay. Anyway, because I'm sure you and I can reminisce a lot, but who are some of your influences as writers or even artists that influence you? That got you into wanting to create comics.
Ugh. Let me see.
Hmm.
Hickman. I'm trying to go because my memory is trash, but I know Hickman
Hmm.
was one of them, and he's doing Thor right now. He's doing Mortal Thor.
I can look it up. I don't.
If you don't mind, because like I said, my memory is crap. Is when it comes to names, I can remember a face, but somebody's like, "Hey, what's that guy's name?" I'm like, I don't.
I'm bad. Yeah, I'm the same way. And especially with like artists. I remember their artwork over their names usually. I have to know
Al
them like
Ewing.
personally. What?
Al Ewing.
Okay.
But I
I just
like,
want to see what the work is right now. Immortal Thor, you said?
yeah, he Al Ewing is on it, was on Immortal Thor. I think he did Immortal Hulk. He did, was it Gods? Like a lot of his stories have mythologies, and it gets deep and it gets really wordy, but I love how he world builds.
Hmm.
And it's like, for someone to put that much effort into creating, and it's like the stories, these are characters that have been around for like what, 60 years. They've been around for a long time, but when he retells a story, it's like, okay, you're pulling this character from way back and you're giving them a whole backstory that we never asked for, but now I want it,
Yeah.
you know. And I think the artist on Moon Knight was one of my favorite artists.
From which, if you don't mind me asking, there's been a few different eras of Moon Knight. Which
I think it's is it Pepos? Is it David Pepos? Look,
I
I'm a,
don't follow a lot anymore.
mhm.
Uh, I
Yeah,
don't know. I'm trying to
David
look.
Pepos, Moon Knight. The artist on that was like the last run. It was him, and let me see who else was on that one. But I loved his Moon Knight, and they actually got me back into Moon Knight because I think it was around the same time the TV show came out, and I was like, all right, that was okay. Let me actually read Moon Knight, and they had just started on issue one, and I was like, all right, this is the best time to jump in. And I was like, oh my god, Moon Knight's pretty awesome,
He's got some nice artwork. I'm looking at it right now.
right? And that artwork for that series, I was like, if I could have someone draw something for me, I was like, oh, this would have been. It
Yeah,
could really make it pop as far as like the colors. Yeah, he does really good. They do really good work.
yeah.
And I'm looking at some other stuff he's done. Cable series. I read that.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't. I'll be honest. I haven't read a lot of new stuff.
Hmm.
I read. Well, right now, when I read, I tend to read more manga than American comics right now.
Yeah,
But I tend to go more for the indie stuff. Like the book that we're going to talk about in a little bit, I would pull out a book like that over Marvel right now, or
yeah,
DC. And I've always been a big DC guy, like Superman, Green Lantern, Doctor Fate. Those
mm,
are my guys, and Nightwing, obviously. Um, but it's I don't know. I just kind of lost interest in superheroes after a while. Um,
I get it. I get
but
it.
yeah, but I want to say I just want it's not like that superhero fatigue after all the movies or everybody was calling it that, because I will literally watch superhero stuff every single day.
Yeah,
It's I just lost interest in. I wanted to read something different. I just needed a change,
I get it.
and I went to fantasy and sci-fi, and I found. And even though I've always kind of read manga here and there, I found that manga offered more variety in
Hmm.
comics than what was out on the shelves at the store. It was doing shows like this that I'm doing now and meeting other creators and seeing Kickstarters that I'm able to back or at least help support, and sometimes they're kind enough to give me a book afterwards or whatever.
Yeah,
uh, that, and I tend to read those. You mentioned Conan. I Even though I haven't been got picked up a floppy, I once Titan released Conan, I
hmm,
was reading every issue until the store went out of business by me. So I read the first few issues, and I'm like, this is fantastic. So
yeah,
now I got to get collections, and that's
yeah.
the only way I can read them, uh, which is okay because I don't have a lot of room anymore. Um,
I see your office that you're in.
yeah, this is my office. I mean, oh, I just moved some furniture around in here, so it's still messy. I'm still organizing,
Yeah,
but right next to me here, when I turn this way, I know you can't see, that's my drawing table. So I literally sit here. I have my lap board underneath it. I lean back, lap board laid up against here. I draw. This is my computer here,
Hmm.
laptop right here, Cintiq right in front of me, and right up there is another monitor. That monitor is usually YouTube videos or whatever I'm watching while I
Okay.
work. I used to have a monitor right in front of me that was hooked up to a DVD player so I can play my DVDs, and it was just that in an audio speaker. Uh,
Okay.
so I was really set up. And then my scanner, all in one machine, was on another table,
Hmm.
kind of in front of me. But this past weekend, my all in one machine broke.
Uh,
Listen, Friday I go meet a guy who's hired me to do work for him, and he
yeah.
goes, "Can you scan all this in for me?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll scan. I'll do all this stuff in." He's paying me to do it.
Uh-huh.
I go home. I scan 2 pages in. The scanner stops working. I start flipping out. I'm spending hours trying. This is Saturday night for me,
Yeah.
and I call the guy. I'm like, I don't know, or text him. I don't know what's happening. Blah blah blah. I got my printer work. I got my scanner working. I'll scan more in tomorrow or whatever.
Hmm.
Or no, the next, I said I got to fix it, but I'm too angry. I'll fix it tomorrow morning.
Okay.
So I watched all these videos. I spent 3 hours on it, 2, 3 hours, whatever it was. I got it working. I
Okay.
scanned for, I don't know, an hour, maybe two,
Yeah.
and then maybe a little less. And then the scanner stopped working again.
Yeah. Damn.
The cursing went nuts. My wife's like, calm down. And then no, so I go and I try to do some more fixing and it's not
Mm.
working. So I look up new scanners. I have to get a new scanner.
Yeah.
Well, I bought, all I could do was buy some that had 8.5 by 11. So I'm taking these original sheets of 11 by 17 and scanning them in and putting them together. I'm like, I'm giving myself more work, but I promised this guy. So
Yeah.
anyway, as of yesterday, everything is scanned in. All the original art has been adjusted.
Uh-huh.
That colorists can color it, and any color work, I'm just waiting on some information before I send it to. But everything is scanned. I am thrilled. It was the best $130 I spent. In a long
Okay.
time. But I'm just
Unexpected, but I
like,
get it.
oh, and just so much running around, so much, and I was just like, oh, I can't do this. But I got it done. I'm thrilled.
Hey,
No,
hey,
it's
you pushed through it. That's all that matters. You didn't just say, fuck it.
my. I have always been, and I think this goes should go for every artist. I am incredibly deadline oriented. If
Good.
you tell me you need it by a certain time, I'm going to get it to you. And I even told him, I said, listen, if I can't fix this, I can't get a scanner. He had a backup guy. I said, tell me where they live. I will drive it to them. So I don't have to give it to you and make you the middleman.
Yeah.
I will drive it to the guy because I feel terrible. And everything that I've scanned, I wouldn't have even charged them for. I just would have been like, here you go. I
Yeah.
would have, sorry, there you go, that's it. And but yeah, so
That's
I
professionalism. I
yeah,
like it.
that's what it is. And I think I would hope more, all artists are like that. Uh, you know, I've worked with some, so I know they're not. But
Yeah.
but deadlines. Listen, I've worked in other things than comics. I've worked for newspapers. I've worked for magazines. I've worked
Mm.
for in animation. So like, if you don't meet your deadline, it could mean a lot of money is lost. You
Yeah.
know, and it's your fault. So I learned very quickly deadlines are very important if I want to continue to pay my bills. So
Hey,
I
I wish I've had a few artists, and we didn't work out. And it was, I think deadlines was the reason. It was like, oh yeah, I get it to you by this day, and then I'm waiting for it, and then a week, a few days pass, and I'm like, maybe something came up.
yeah.
My thing is communication, though. I'm like, look, if you just tell me something came up, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
But when you just leave them high and dry, and it's like,
No,
okay, I need this.
no, I get it because I give myself deadlines for my own work. I say I want this done by Friday, and I'm going to work my butt off to get it done by Friday. But
Hmm.
when something like this came up, I had to push my deadline because I'm like, I need to give him 2 full days now that I got the new scanner, how to
Yeah.
install it, how to make sure I was scanning correctly, learn the scanner, learn the software that came with it. I'm like, that's a half a day right there to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I'm cutting out my stuff, and I said I'll push my deadlines to the weekend so
Yeah.
that I can, because weekends I don't normally I try not to work. So,
Okay.
um, I draw like crazy, but I try not to actually do work. It's like let's just relax that day, spend the day with my wife, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
but if I have to, I will, and I'd rather do relaxing stuff. So anyway, let's we've been talking a little bit now here, and about a half hour. Wow, I haven't even gotten to your
I know
story.
that's fine. Hey, we're just talking.
No, no, dude, I told you this is a very conversational podcast here. I love just chatting with creators and people who love comics
Mm-hmm.
and things. And there goes. Hold on
And that
one
was
second.
you.
That's that text I've been waiting for. I apologize. Give me 1 second. Why is it asking? Um, just 1 second. Sorry, this is an important thing. An EKG. That's right. Okay. Keep me informed. Doing my best. Okay. Now I might just get sorry for interrupting the podcast, but let me turn this off. Oh, sorry. Anyway, uh, so yeah, about your Kickstarter that you
Mhm.
have, or the project. Before we even get into the Kickstarter,
Yes.
you if I read your bio, which is up on Kickstarter, and it says you
Mhm.
actually have three properties that you created. If I'm remembering correctly, right?
Yes. Yes.
The one that's going up right now is called Soul Blaster, which you gave me a digital copy of, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I liked the backup story too in there.
Okay. Cool.
It was a
Okay.
really fun. It was a good way because I want to say it reminded me of a few different comics.
Okay.
Okay? There was a bit of Green Lantern in there in the origin. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
there was I felt almost like there was a little bit of a an influence of Bleach was in there. Um,
Okay.
I take it you're a fan. I saw that
Oh,
face.
I love Bleach. I love
Um,
Bleach and JJK. But yeah.
okay, and what was the other one I remember? I can't remember. I mean, there's a sci-fi aspect to it, so I felt like you can really go to any sci-fi. You always have to go to Star Wars, but I feel like there's a bit of, like you say, Star. I would say Star Wars, Bleach, Green Lantern are the three
Okay.
influences that really popped out to me as I read the story, especially in the backup story.
Yeah.
It really felt like a space western, was a which is Star Wars.
Yeah.
Did I hit any of them or?
The one that I had not heard before, but I felt it when I was writing it was the Green Lantern one.
Mhm.
And Abensor and Hal Jordan and the whole passing of the ring. It was the same kind of theme with the ender being passed to the main character when he
Mhm.
was a kid, but I wanted it to be modern because that story takes place in like late 80s, early 90s. He's a
Mhm.
16-year-old kid, you know. And then it's very anime influenced because of course I love anime. I love manga, I love anime. And Bleach and Jujutsu Kaisen, Cowboy Bebop, Trigon. Um, that was the space western was something at first, and I was telling people like at first when I first started writing it, I wanted to have a traditional western story with a supernatural twist. But then it was like I was doing Lyft and I'd been putting the pieces together to the story, and it was like, what if this happened to like me? Like, what if I was a kid and and an alien picked me up? And then I started thinking about like more. I just went down the rabbit hole, man. It was like
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy from the MCU, how Peter got picked up in that movie. I was like, yeah, what if that was, instead of it being, what was it was a little black kid who was an orphan for the most part. He didn't have any family to miss him.
Yeah.
And we went that route with it, and I was like, okay. And the story just started to progress and progress. And then I kind of mixed everything that I love from comics and just tried to make something that was different.
And I think you're succeeding at that. I think I can't say I've read anything like it before. Okay.
Right.
Like I said, I see the influences, so I'm like, okay, I see where you pulled from in a way.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm not saying it's not exactly Green Lantern, but there is that passing of the torch.
Yes.
And when I see Bleach, obviously you hear the name Soul Blaster. You know, it's you got the souls. There's stuff going on.
Hmm.
And, trying to protect her or whatever. It's been a while since I've read Bleach. I've never watched it.
It's fine. I have another story that's very Bleach influenced. And that one was me. That one's called Dreamwalker, and that one is very manga oriented.
mhm,
Soul Blaster, I wanted it to be a mix of more modern 80s, 90s themes
mhm,
with the space western. I was like, I want a space western. I want literally the good, the bad, the ugly. Um, Clint Eastwood is what I just kept. Fistful of dollars. I
yeah,
want that. The duels, and they out in the street, drop,
yeah,
and
yeah,
all of that aspect. But I wanted it futuristic with the same vibe. So it's like, yeah, you got outlaws, you got people, and not necessarily their cattle's getting taken from them, but yeah, people trying to survive on these alien worlds, and then you got these criminals coming through, and they're just pillaging and doing what they want. It's like,
yeah.
yeah, need people to put them in their place.
I get it. Listen. A western's always been on my to-do list. I
Mhm.
just suck at drawing horses, which is why it hasn't happened yet. Um,
I've heard
and
that so many
it's
times.
it's also a reason a lot of my fantasy stories haven't happened yet
Hmm.
because I need horses for some of them. And I even got to work on Zorro. Luckily, I had to when I got to draw a horse. When I had to draw
Yeah.
however you pronounce them, tornado, depends on the version. Um,
Hmm.
I I looked up a horse real, and I'm like, what angle can I put it at that's not difficult to draw? So I
What
don't
is
do
it?
like
The legs? Is it?
muscles or anything. And I'm like, okay, it's going to be basically from the neck up. You're going to see a three-quarter back view of Zorro. And,
Yep. That's all you need. We know he's riding. They don't need
yeah,
to see his
exactly,
legs.
exactly. So I had to do that, and I actually even watched a class on. I used to work for an online art academy. I was the 2D faculty supervisor. Company shut down in October, but we taught animal drawing there.
Hmm.
So being the 2D faculty super, I had access to all the classrooms. So I'd
Oh,
watch videos in my spare time, and I literally would watch the animal drawing. And I told the instructor, I'm like, how the hell? Like I had to do a drawing with wings one day, so I
right.
watched her thing on birds, and
Hmm.
I'm like, that was really cool, and I got it. And I'm like, I understand how wings work now.
Hmm.
But then I had to draw a horse, and I'm like, I watched your horse video like 4 times.
Hmm.
I can't draw a horse. I don't get it. Like
I don't know.
it's a,
Maybe it's
it's
a
a
mental game. Maybe
yeah.
it's the mental. It's a block there, man. I don't know.
So I mean, I do the heads pretty good. I'm going to say that. It's the rest of the horse I can't do.
I got you.
So anyway, getting back to that. So you have and what was the other one? Because you mentioned Dreamwalker, and
Yes.
then that's very Bleach, and we can talk about that later. I really want to focus on Soul Blaster. But what was the other comic you have?
So the third one is coming out next. It hasn't
Oh,
fully been announced. It's been in the works. I've been like teasing it since I started writing the end of last year, beginning of last year. But
okay.
growing up, I was a weird kid. Just growing up, like when I was a little kid and I would go get books in the library at school, I would go get the comic books because I found out we had comic books in the library. And I was like, ah. So I grabbed the comic books and I grabbed the mythology books because I thought gods and like Hercules and
Yeah.
first it was Greek mythology. And I was like, oh, this is cool. They got gods and powers. It was cool. And then I found out there was other mythologies and I just would just read those books and Shakespeare and all that stuff, man. I don't know. It caught my attention.
Yeah, listen, you sound a lot like me. I used to, before I got into mythology, I used to take books about outer space and learn
Okay.
about the planets and the solar
Right.
system and stuff. Then, probably by fifth grade, it turned into mythology for me.
Okay.
And when I was in, I think, ninth grade was my first introduction to Shakespeare,
Hmm.
but I loved it so much that that was the only time I paid attention to an English class throughout high school was when we did Shakespeare.
Nah.
Uh, but later on, because I had trouble reading,
Mhm.
and I didn't find out what my issue was until after high school,
Okay.
and I loved all that stuff so much that when I was in college, I actually studied classical literature a little bit. I took a couple of classes on it, and
Mm.
I did. I would read plays. There was the main class I took was about plays,
Okay.
and so I read Ibsen, who became like my all time favorite playwright,
Okay.
um, and I read Shaw. I read can't remember. I read so many people from different time periods,
Yeah.
and I that's where I really fell in love with all that, and I started to reread mythology
Hmm.
again and learn more about it because I was so into the literature. But I've always kind of liked history, and the way I look at mythology is it is history for for the more superstitious people,
Yes.
for people who didn't understand the world at the time. So a rain, thunderstorm, lightning storm. Oh, that's Zeus being mad at us,
Oh,
punishing.
the gods are mad at us, and
Yeah, exactly. So I'm
the
like,
oracles would,
more primitive cultures trying to understand the world around them. So I kind of see it almost as history
yeah.
rather than just made up stories, but they're just fun. You know,
And
that's that's what I like about them.
people, and I agree with that completely because, like, and my kids, I know they probably get tired of me because I'm turning into the dad that lectures them about you got to know your history so it doesn't repeat itself. Like you
Yeah.
need to know the past because they're like history's so boring or this is boring. And then my niece came and she was like, "We're doing a play at school on the 12 labors of Hercules," and I jumped up like, What?" And I'm like, "Do you know about that story?" And I'm talking to her, and it was funny. But I know, like growing up, we only had like 3 channels. Like we only had like 3 channels on TV, and I think PBS was one of them.
Yeah.
And Wishbone was this little show that would come on when I was a kid about this little dog, and he'd teach you about Shakespearean stories and mythology and all this stuff. And that really took me in. I think I was like 5 or 6, and I just fell in love with it. So yeah. But the story of the Lost Pack, that's the third one that I'm writing, and it's gonna be my like epic mythology. In my head, I'm like, this is my magnum opus. I'm like, this is gonna be the biggest story that
Well,
I want to write. And it's a mythological story that pays respects to like all the cultures,
yeah.
right? So and
That's
it's one of those like I took literally like 8 or 9 different mythologies and I put them all into this story and then I put them against like Lovecraftian the Lovecraft mythos,
okay.
like actual Cthulhu and
Yeah,
Nyarlathotep
yeah,
and as
yeah.
all of those, and I was like, okay, instead of doing it like a big power scale, like oh who's bigger and who's badder, blah blah blah. So that would be boring. So I actually made a story to combine everything and make it like a survival thing, where it's like the main character finds out that they have this power and they're destined to bring all these different gods and cultures together because they haven't I'm not gonna dive into that
No,
one.
no, don't. That's another show for you to come on and talk.
But that's what that is, and it's I wanted it to be a graphic novel,
Mhm.
and I got the story written out. It's just pacing. I'm pacing myself financially so I
No, I
can
get
get
that.
it. You
I
know.
get it because I actually wrote. I don't want to say it's similar, but I did something with my, and this started in college. I took a class on screenwriting,
Okay.
and I wrote this story.
Hmm.
And she's like, "Oh, this could totally be a movie, or it actually make a great introduction movie to a TV series."
Oh,
And I
okay.
never did anything with it. I always wanted, like, my idea was one day I'll pitch it to like the Sci-Fi Channel or
Mm,
whatever. So that turned into something where I just started, like, it was a 10-year trek into studying the occult, studying mythology, studying all these different things. And I was
okay.
like, and we're going back maybe 15 years now when I finished writing the first graphic novel. But I
Oh,
turned it into a 6 or 7 book story, and they would all be graphic novels. And that script I wrote is actually the second or third story now. And because I
okay.
found out how all this stuff will connect, I'm like, nope, have to do a different story first.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I wrote like a 150-page comic, and it
Hmm.
was literally drawn out. Like, I work on yellow pads, yellow line pads, college ruled. I'm like freaky that way. I have to,
Okay.
have my thing. And I just kind of drew out panels, and I was drawing, and I'm like, okay, this is here. And I have them like in a folder like this thick of
Hmm.
of just different, like, I wrote, say, this is page 65 to 80, and then I
Yeah.
have it redone again, because, or like 75 to 85, because I redid it. So there's just, everything's in there.
So it's just
And
a living story that's
yeah,
been
and when I
evolving.
got done with everything, I showed it to my wife, and I got the greatest compliment I ever got, because she believed everything I wrote so much. She goes, "Is this how it really happened?" I'm like, "No, this is made up bullshit. It's mythology." But I sucked her into the world, and I'm
Yeah.
like, "That is great." I sucked her, and then she's like, "So when are you going to draw it?" I go, I don't know. I'm tired. I go, I just spent like 10 years of my life on this, and I wrote 150 pages. I don't even want to draw it, and I put a stupid horse in there too, and I'm like, I can't draw horses anyway, and I'm like, no, there's this great scene, and I can't tell it on the air, and I won't even tell it to you privately right now because I don't want
Okay.
anyone stealing it, because it's so, like I saw it in my head if it was a movie, because remember my teacher told me this would be a great, like, episodic,
Hmm.
story. So I'm like, oh my god, I see it. I know how to pitch it. Think about this visually, the camera panning like that. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god. And I'm like, I got to draw this now. And I just kind of started panicking, so I put it away.
Oh no. So it's
Once
there. You just
I,
gotta.
everything's plotted though. The other like 5 or 6 books are plotted. So it's just a matter of me deciding, yes, it's time for me to draw this.
Well, I
And,
hope you get to draw it because I'm excited to know what happens.
well, I'll tell you right now, either I'm going to draw it, or I'm going to hire someone. I'm at the point in my career where I don't care if I draw everything anymore.
Hmm.
I may have a style, or I want to stay within,
Yeah.
but but I'm willing to pay people. But I gotta make sure I could afford it. You know.
Yeah. Like I sat down and did the math for that book, and I was like, my wife, everything's been, how much is that going to cost? Because she believes in the dream, but she's not more so of the arts. She's the logistics person. She's like, how much
Yeah.
is this going to cost and all that. And so it's just like the way my story I originally pitched it. I was like, each chapter the art style will change. It's one of those where because it's a journey, he's going on a quest. Every time he goes into a new realm with a new mythology, a new culture, the art will literally shift to show you like because I know the first one is Africa, like he meets the Orisha and they teach him and they get him ready for his quest. They tell him what he's meant to do and they train him, they get him the basics, and then he
Yeah.
goes into Native America and it just the art flips from those colors over to is it Neo America, and I had one artist draw that page and I was like I just need to get it colored but it looked so good. It looked good though. But
My thing is, I'm okay with it not being colored. I look at it right now. So many people are into manga, which is all black and white,
yeah,
and people are okay with black and white comics. I think if it's drawn well,
yeah,
if people understand that the artist, it's not just basic line art that needs color,
yeah,
but if it's shaded properly and all that, I think the audience is very okay these days with um, with black and white. So like I think about it like on the low end because I'm an artist. So if I was to hire an artist, I would want I would want to make it worth their while. So on the low end, I don't think I could pay less than $100 a page
hmm,
for inks and for pencils and inks. I
yeah,
think that is fair on the low end for an indie comic. I think if you're a larger company, you should be paying more. But I think that's the lowest I would want to go. I'm not saying it's the lowest I will go. It's the lowest I want to go.
right, right,
Uh,
right.
but if I'm doing 100, even 100-page comic, that's 10 grand.
Yeah,
It's like I can't, and then printing and advertising and
yes,
all the other costs.
yes.
It's going to be a $15,000 to $20,000 project.
And that's that thing that's like sitting over my head when I keep like the idea is there, the dream is there, the story is written. I know, like I'm like this is gonna be good, and I want to put it out there. But like you just said, that was just inks, and I'm like colors, lettering, promotion, and then printing. Okay, and mine, and I'm like this isn't even finishing the story. This is just like the first volume,
Yeah.
which is 100 and something pages. But then somebody told me they was like, "Hey, man, it'd be more logical just to do it one book at a time. Like, don't try to rush the system and try to do 4 books at one time and then go broke. Just do one book at a time because you don't want to make all this and people be like, "What
Well,
is this?"
I will say this. This is my theory today, and I don't know if it's a theory as more as it's fact because I have seen it. Unless you're a comic reader like us who go to the stores regularly,
Hmm.
and I would still be going if my shop was around.
All right.
Um, we nobody really buys floppies. They're going and buying trades and graphic novels and manga, and they're buying collections. So I think it's smarter to be putting those out than it is to be putting out floppies, even though it might be more cost effective.
Yeah.
Um, I just think it's smart because people will get a better deal. They'll pay. One of the reasons I think manga outsells American comics is the price point. Think about it. They get average what 300-page story for $15,
$15. Yep.
and it's a fast read, and then they want to get it again. They want to get the next book, and it's all done by one creative team. It might be one guy, it might be two or three guys, you
Yep.
might have assistants, whatever. It's from book one to book 150, whatever it is. It's the same
Mhm.
team. It's all the same. They're getting the same price point, everything. So I think there's more value in that, and people see that today,
Yeah.
and they do with I'm going to go pick up and this is no offense to you because I know I'm just using books you said you read. I'm going to go pick up the new Thor
Mhm.
and read pay $5 for 32 pages when I'm really getting about a 20-page story.
That is very true,
You
and it
know,
adds up very quickly, and
yeah,
that's why I took a break when I first started writing. I was like, I can't afford to keep buying modern comics and try to create my own comics. I took a break for like a year, and then some event came out that pulled me back in, and I was like, let me just see what's going on, and then I got back into it,
yeah.
But
I I picked up the first two issues of the new Masters of the Universe where they came out last year.
yeah,
I was at a store. I picked up that they had the first two issues. I picked them up.
mhm,
I love them. I would love to continue reading. Couldn't. And now, who is it? I just saw Riley Brown posted his first book of He-Man came out the other day,
yeah,
and I'm just a huge He-Man fan. It was my childhood. I've watched every incarnation they've made.
mhm,
Some are good, some are not so good. I'm one of the few people who like the '90s He-Man, the New Adventures of He-Man. I think that was a fun,
okay,
fantastic. I think people are weird if they don't like it, but hey, that's my opinion.
yeah,
It was a new fun sci-fi take. And if it got a season 2, you would have found out some really cool stuff about that story. Um, well, no, I don't know if you ever watched it or know about it,
I
but
never watched it.
the
I got
idea
some
was
clips.
he went into the future. Okay, that's the idea. Or he
Okay.
went to another planet. But the idea was you would have found out in season 2 it was the future of Eternia. So
Oh,
the planet had a new name. It was called Primus,
huh.
but it was the future of Eternia. So it was I was like, oh, this is really cool. So you would have got some cool backstory of how things developed
Yeah,
into
like
that.
what happened?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, that would have been great. But no, and you had Skeletor, who was basically Jack Nicholson at the time. It was
Hmm.
awesome. He was like just crazy and this insane Skeletor that was like, but he wasn't like the cackling from the '80s cartoon. He
Yeah.
was the like almost a Joker like. I'd say the Jack Nicholson. He was just nutty, you
Okay.
know, and he was. It was a more silly, fun take on Skeletor. I
I'm
liked
gonna
it.
have to go check it out just to get a glance and be like, okay, let me see what this is about.
You can probably find a few episodes on YouTube or Tubi or something.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
but yeah, no, it was fun. Anyway, I want to show some artwork. I'm not going to show the first book because I want people to go out and get that.
Okay.
But I want to show just the cover to the Kickstarter. What the? Oh, there's the screen. I'm sorry. Again, the three monitors. I never know which direction I have to push my mouse here. Um, and window right here. So here we are. We are looking at Soul Eater, and you know what? I'm signed in, so notify me at launch. When are we going? When are we going live with this?
June 1st.
Ooh, nice day.
I like to
Nice.
start on the first day of the month, and it'll go all through June 1st through June 30th or 31st, the last day of June.
30 days. That's very June. Yeah, 30th. So
Okay.
I have to do it that way all the time. I never remember.
I
Uh,
always forget. I'm like,
um, who's the artist on here? Because I love this picture.
So funny.
Mhm.
This person is Filipino. His name is Atari, and he actually this is a variant of the story. Like he
Okay.
did a variant cover for issue 1, and this was the variant cover. And he's my main artist on Dreamwalker.
Okay.
He does a lot of anime. He does a lot of manga style
Yeah,
art.
I can see that.
And I asked him because he saw me working on this, and he's like, "Hey, you want to let me do this one?" And then I let him do a few pages, and I was just like, "It's not the exact style I would like, but I
Mhm.
do like what you're doing with it." And then I was like, "I need you to make me a variant cover," and then he made this as the variant cover. And then I told him like what I wanted it to look like, and then once I saw it, I was like, "All right, you just gave me more ideas, more fuel for the fire for the story."
Because this is
Just
an
looking at
older
the cover.
version of the main character. He's younger in the first story there that I read.
Yeah, yeah. In the first story, he's 16, and then in issue 2, I went ahead and did like a 6-year skip.
Okay.
So this is him. Most of the story takes place. He's in his 20s,
Okay.
early 20s.
Can you tell us about that? Because I mean, I don't want to just sit and read what this says.
Hmm.
So can you tell us a little? You don't have any other artwork, right? On here. No.
If you keep,
Here's
there
a
we
few.
go.
So tell us a little bit about what the story is about. So not to spoil anything of the issue 2 or actually issue 1. Just pitch it and sell it. Maybe we'll get some people getting a copy of issue 1 as well somewhere.
Okay, let me see if I can. I'm terrible at spoilers, so I'm sorry if I tell too much. But
I'll let you know to stop if you tell a bit of issue 1.
okay, so without jumping into issue 1 too much, we have Dennis Treadway, which is his real name, but he goes by the nickname Coyote, which is something he picked up when he was watching TV. And it was a guy who's kind of like Shaft that he
Okay.
looked up to on the TV. And he was like, oh, that guy's cool. So when he leaves and, he goes off to space, he's like, I got to make a name for myself. Like, I can't just be Dennis. So Coyote is the nickname that he comes up with. And he puts on that as his persona of what he thinks is a cool individual.
Yeah.
So he does the whole And it's like a little mixture, kind of like James Bond. He's the ladies' man. Um, he's always punching above his weight class. But this one right here and on this page was one of my favorites because for the most part, it shows his personality. He likes to joke and use sarcasm a lot.
Okay.
That's just who he is. And then, this page on the bottom, you can see the ender, and which is what the weapons are called. So these weapons were created by this race, and they're used to harvest souls, pretty much.
Mhm.
And the deal is like whoever has the ender is bound to it. So it can't be used by anybody else. So it has like a symbiotic relationship. He gets the souls using the weapon. The weapon in turn gives him enhanced abilities, like it'll heal him if he's hurt, or it'll give him enhanced speed or reflexes. And it slowly starts to become one of those, like, the more souls he's starting to gather over time, it's starting to actually change and evolve the weapon, and it's also starting to change who he is. And
Mhm.
it's and the premise behind it is he's a good person, but he's starting to not be corrupted per se, but he's starting to change because of the people who are in charge, you know,
Yeah.
of him. And he's getting pulled in one direction by Bloodstar Network or Bloodstar Corporation. That is what I was thinking of with that is like Mojoverse from X-Men.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, we have a company. They know it's criminals out there. They can't control it, so they created a company where they hire bounty hunters, send
Mhm.
them out, and then they record them catching their bounties, and they broadcast it to families across the universe.
Oh. I,
You know,
let me ask you, why did, and I was wondering this when I read the first issue, why did you choose a gun as the main weapon, as opposed to, like, like I said, it was very Green Lantern-ish origin for him to get the gun, and
mm,
obviously you don't want to do a ring. A ring's been used, but what was it about the gun that made it say this is the weapon as opposed to another kind of weapon or something made up and make it look more like a sci-fi gun?
yeah.
What was the reasoning behind that?
It comes up a little later, but it's not like a huge thing. But with this gun, it looks like an old style Western revolver,
Yeah.
right? Vacor is the demon who is the main antagonist throughout his entire life. He is the one, and that's not spoiling a lot because I've been putting him on a lot of stuff too. But he created this weapon, and he created it during a period where he visited Earth
Mhm.
when Earth was in its most violent phase, and it intrigued him. Like he's been alive for a long time. So he
Mhm.
created a weapon based on that period that he first visited Earth, which was during the Western time frame where a lot of people were getting killed.
Yeah.
And he's just been keeping this weapon, you know, the way it is. He's very, very flashy is with his appearance, but as far as the weapon, he's like, I made it, and he made it very symbiotic where it grows over time. But he loves that original design. So I know, like everybody else you'll see in the story, they got all these blasters like Star Trek and Star Wars, but you got this guy with this old fashioned revolver, but it's shooting out like hellfire blast. It's in souls and stuff.
I gotta say, I really enjoy this concept a lot. Um,
Thank you.
visually, like, I mean, that middle panel right there in the second row is gorgeous, and like I could see this in animation. I could see this as live action. It's like you got a good, you got a good idea here. You really do, and like I said, I read the first issue. It was a really nice introduction story. I would love to see the second issue and how it's going to progress
Yeah.
into something. I love that there's a kind of a time jump that here, it's 6 years later, so now we got to, it gives you a lot to play with as a creator. Not
Yeah.
only do you play with the present time, you can play with flashbacks in his past to how he got to where he was,
Yep.
and things and you can always do backup stories or side stories about, oh, when I was younger learning about this,
Hmm.
it's a really great concept here.
And that's exactly what is going to happen with the route. And I did it for that reason because initially when I first wrote the story, I didn't do that. I didn't do it as a 6 year skip. I did it in linear. I did it. Hey, issue one happens. Issue two, we're building up to the legend that he becomes. And I ain't gonna lie, I got impatient. I was like, it's gonna take like 3 issues to get him to who I want him to be. And I was like, screw that. Issue two, I went back and rewrote it, and I was like, we're gonna time skip 6 years to put him where I want him to be. But then there'll be times like maybe he's falling asleep and he's dreaming, and while he's resting, the flashbacks can fill you in on what has happened throughout the 6 years. So that way we're not wasting up time, but you do get to learn, like, okay, well, what was going on in between that? How did he go from being this kid to being this cocky little 22-year-old who's full of himself?
Yeah.
Maybe he shouldn't be.
Oh, I mean, listen, it's great. And I like the color choices here. Everything just goes real nice. I mean, you have a really nice team here who's doing your work for you here.
This one is it's another guy who I met from the Philippines, and his name is Jasper Torres, I believe. And me and him have been working. He did issue one, and issue one went through such a story of it took the 3 artists to get the one that I really wanted. And after I got him, and he did issue one, and he did it quick because I was in the middle of a Kickstarter. And
Oh,
then I think my second artist tried pulling a fast one on me, wanted to go up on the price before it was done.
keep everything in writing. Get a contract all the
Yep,
time.
tried to hold me hostage on that book. And I was like, I'm not doing that. So then I was like, oh my God, everything's about to fail. And then I got in touch with the actual artist who was drawing the work.
Mhm.
And he was like, hey, this guy has been giving me this much. How much have you been paying him? And I was like, I'm paying him this much. So the guy was pretty much saying he was doing the work, but he was paying the artist like peasant change and keeping most of the profits. So we worked out an agreement. I was like, yeah, we're gonna cut the middleman out. Me and you, we do this story and that's it.
Yeah.
And
And
so
so he basically had an agent, is what you're saying. And
he had an agent, but it's like he didn't know. The agent was lying to him as far as telling him how much he was getting, you know.
yeah,
And I was like, man, I will pay you more based on your work because I like your art style.
yeah. And I gotta say, I mean, listen, I would love an agent one day. I don't have one
Mhm.
because I'd love more work, but I know I've talked to some agents, and I know how you gotta really trust them, and you gotta be
Not there yet.
careful. You gotta be very careful. I had a friend of mine. I won't go into the story because I don't want to. I don't know if I've ever talked about it on the show. I almost got screwed over by someone who was trying to become my agent,
Hmm.
but luckily my friend's father was an IP lawyer. He was an entertainment lawyer when I was younger.
Yeah.
So when I was in my early 20s and I met this person, I
Hmm.
just went to my friend's father. I said, "Hey," and he walked me through the process of how I'm supposed to deal with these things. And when they weren't willing to go to a certain step,
Yeah.
I was like, "You're here to steal my work." So I ended the conversation, and I never gave them anything outside of what was online of
Hmm.
my work. And we're going back to late '90s, early 2000s, so there
Yeah.
wasn't much of my artwork online at the time. There was nothing there, and I owned I always copywrote everything, so I was protected. It
Hmm.
wasn't like the mail to yourself and the one that doesn't stand up in court. There, I paid at the time was $65 or $75, and my work was always registered. So I always protected my work that I put out anywhere, and I mean I still do, but yeah, it was working with him that taught me how to seek out people and know what questions to ask, and if there was any issues, I knew to say, okay, sorry, thank you for your time, we're done here, and
Yeah.
I'm no longer. Yeah,
That's good.
it's good to know and good to have. I probably could have got screwed over really bad.
I went through so much money in the beginning because I was just out here just like, I'm gonna write a comic. And then then you put out on you get in the Facebook groups and you're like, hey, I'm looking for an artist, and then my inbox had over 100 different artists, and you're trying to figure out who's real, who's not. And I had one who got me in the very beginning, and then it took me getting to a point where other artists were like, hey, this doesn't look right, this doesn't look right, this doesn't look right. And then we put it together, and then luckily I saved myself from getting too far down that rabbit hole because I'd already put money into that. But
Was it like an AI artist or?
yeah, one of those, and I didn't even see it, but I was like, oh, this looks really, really good. And they were like zooming in on like the fingers, and it was some background characters.
I got to be honest. Look, I don't like to talk AI because I know so many different opinions, so many
Right.
personal stuff. But I will say this: number one, I wanted to know what it was like, so I did experiment with it just to get an idea.
Okay.
Okay, I realized it's not for me. As an artist, I do not want work created that way. It has to be by my hand, and that's it. Or I have to pay someone. And that's actually one of the reasons I'm a little nervous about paying people is because I'm afraid of them using AI. One
It
of the
gets
things, what
it gets hard when
it does, and I know people out there who use it. I have friends who use it to help. They don't use it to create their art, but sometimes they use it to enhance, or they'll do it in the concept stage,
yeah,
or whatever. And I see, I see it from so many different points of view. My personal is I don't want to use it. That's it. I don't want to use it to
mhm,
create my artwork. I think my artwork should be done by me. This hand right here is my drawing hand. This
mhm.
hand, which you can't see, that one, that's going to hold the paper and not do anything.
All
If
right.
I have to use this hand, I might as well use AI. You know, but my right hand here is what I draw with, and I'd rather make my magic, if you will, with by hand and not by computer. And but I know so many people out there that, or I don't want to say that use it, but that I understand why they would use it,
Yeah,
or why, or how they use it. Um, and I can't judge someone else. I can only judge me, you know?
fair enough.
So if you want to do it, I can't say no to you. I just know that let your audience decide. That's what it is.
Fair.
If you want to do it, be honest with your audience, let them know, and let them decide if they want to purchase it or not.
I
That's all.
agree.
If you
I
don't
agree.
want, because all these people who, and I'm not going to name names because people, knows, but there are people out there who act like they're the art police and that their word is law, and everybody's posting those fuck AI and down with AI and all this. AI is not going away.
No, it's not.
It's
And
it's been around for a long time. It's
mhm.
just now coming to the light and taking artists' jobs. All right.
I heard
It,
that with Disney, right?
yeah, well, that's part of it. I mean, I know a few people who were hired back afterwards, but yeah, I mean, and some of that has to deal with the animation guild not getting a great contract. I mean, I'm not going to go into that, but I know they fought for. I know they fought for higher wages, but they didn't fight hard enough for no AI. So AI is allowed, and if you get hired, you get more money though. It's so they use less people. But
Yeah.
I don't know the whole contract. I haven't read it. I just know people who have.
Hmm.
Okay, um, so it's things have happened. It's the entertainment industry is going to bring in. They're going to always try to find a way to make more money. A lot of companies left America. Why? Because it's cheaper to make. You can make $7 million movie in India. Here it's going to cost you 150 million. You
Yeah,
know,
I
it's
get it. Money makes a lot of things move, and it's not always in the benefit of the human aspect.
exactly
But
exactly.
when
So
when it comes to art, though, I feel like personally, art is one of those things where I feel like art should have a soul,
Hmm.
in my opinion. And I feel like the best way you can get the soul and the feeling and the pride of art is to get it from a person.
Yeah.
And I think with this, it took some other artists who do it for a living. They was like, hey man, make sure you get your work in, like, and I wasn't doing that in the beginning because I didn't know. I was like, your work in progress pages,
Yep.
I wasn't doing it because I didn't know that that artist. I would be like, hey, this is what I need. This is what I want. This is my script. And then it'd be like a week and it'd be like, hey, I got something for you. Bam. And I'm like, oh my God, it looks amazing. And it was using AI the whole time. And then this artist I get, he's so meticulous. I love it. At first, I was like, why is he doing this? Every single step from the sketch page all the way up to the finished product, he gives me every phase. And he's like, I want you to let me know if you approve it before we move on to the next phase. So,
Yeah.
like on my phone, I have like 5 or 6 different pages for that one page, but it's showing me the proof that I need to be like, okay, this is what we got, and this is where we're at.
Yeah. I'm doing one for someone right now. I sent him. They sent me the script. I did some layouts, like kind of a little better detailed than stick figures,
Yeah.
and like some expressions that I want. That I when I saw it, I'm like, okay, this character has to have this type of expression. I
Yeah.
made some notes. I sent it to the editor. The editor came back. These are great. You can start your pencils. Answered my questions.
Hmm.
I did the pencils. I showed it to the editor. He's like, okay, you can start inking. I'll send my inks when I'm done, probably at the end of next week, and I'm going to letter and color it. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to be like, listen, you tell me what colors you want, and I will. I mean, I have kind of a color guide already,
Yeah.
but I'm like, if there's anything specific outside of this color guide, let me know now. Otherwise, I'm going to go off on the top of my head.
Yeah.
So,
Go full
I,
throttle.
but this is how I've always worked. It's always show your iterations. You got to show your steps, and you can't do that with that. But I don't know if you heard the CEO of Barnes and Noble said he's ready to sell AI books. He's okay with that. So I think there should be a section now in Barnes and Nobles that says AI books,
There should be.
and
And
this way the audience, because I think the audience should be the one to decide if they want to read it or not. Now,
I agree.
my question is, and this is my thing, because it's like, okay, just with an AI book, just as someone who writes,
Yeah.
let's say you write a story,
Okay.
and it's a prose story, so it's not comics or anything.
Okay.
You wrote it by yourself. What if you used AI to edit the book? Is it now an AI book, or is it still your? Because you can ask AI to pretend to be an editor, if you
Nah.
will, and ask it not to change anything, and say, like for this, you are the editor of a sci-fi space western, of a supernatural space western about a kid who has this gun that you know takes souls or whatever it
Right.
does. And you could say, please check my grammar, my spelling.
Hmm.
You could say, you know check, if there's any continuity issues, whatever, but don't change any of the writing.
Right.
And they'll spit it back at you and tell you where you made mistakes. So now, is that AI, or is that
I
you use the
see.
tool as an editor to help your story,
Hmm.
and and then after you make whatever corrections you want to make based on what it said, and then maybe after that you send it to an actual editor,
Yeah.
right? Now you pay the money to have an editor look at it. More than likely, they're going to do exactly what you just did. You know, more than likely these days. So now, is your book an AI book, or is it like that's what I want to.
See, m- my opinion on that is, and it's probably gonna differ from others.
Yeah.
My opinion is it's different from if you to have an AI book. I feel that AI had to come up with the actual idea and the plot. And if you just say, "Hey, Chat GPT, write me a book about this," and then they give it to you, and then you take that, and then
Mhm.
you add a few things, and you say, "Hey, this is my book." No, that is an AI story that you adapted. But on the other end, they've added AI to things like Grammarly.
Yeah.
They've added it to stuff already, and I use Grammarly when I write my story because I couldn't afford an editor. But I started asking people this go around on issue 2. I was like, "Hey, you do the lettering, or are you also in the editing? And I can pay you more." And some of them are like, "Yeah, I do editing." And I'm like, "Okay, then I'll pay you to edit as well." And
Yeah.
I prefer to do that all day. But as far as I like to have that pride of saying when I, and that's just me thing, and maybe it's an ego thing. When I tell a person, "Hey, this is my book that I'm selling you. These are
Mhm.
my ideas that came from my head." And I can't sit here and tell a person that this is my idea that came from my head if I know in my soul that AI made this. I
Yeah.
couldn't sit well with that because it's like it's a legacy thing. And I think I was looking at that today. It's like I want to look at this 30 years from now and people be like, "Hey, have you read that Soul Blaster story? It was pretty good." And and I can give it to my grandkids or something and be like, "Hey, here's the full volume." Boom.
Yeah.
That's a pride thing. So
I,
AI ruins that for me and it leaves a bad taste in my mouth
yeah.
if you're using it solely to do the creative thinking that you can't do.
Yeah. Now, I will say, I know people who, and they've talked to me about this, they've had clients use AI to create concepts to send them and say, oh, we want it to kind of have this feel. I don't know if that's okay or not either. Would an artist take a job if they're presented with AI work? I mean, I don't know. It's again personal. There's so many questions up in the air about this, but these
Yeah.
are realistic aspects of AI and where our world is going that
Yeah.
there are people out there who don't realize how AI affects artists or
So,
creativity, let alone I'm not even going to go into the environmental issues. Um,
right.
because if you want to talk about that, you need to stop watching Netflix too. Because Netflix actually uses more, water than ChatGPT does. All right. So
Oh, it's people that's like hanging there. Look, they are foaming at the mouth if they're, "Oh,
yeah,
you guys are making your fucking profile pictures AI and you're killing the environment." I'm like, "Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Slow down."
yeah, it's it's a messy thing, and I don't usually like to talk about it, but since you had that experience, I thought it'd be an
Yeah.
interesting conversation. Um, it's like I said, it's been around, but I look at it, our phones right here. You use your GPS, it's AI. Everything in here, there's AI that you're using. It may not be generative AI that creates art, which is what a
True.
lot of people are against. But it's AI. And if you are against the generative portion, I think you should be against the other portion. And if you,
Mm, you know?
the only way it's going to go away is to stop using all these other things that we have that are very comfortable. We're going to have to go back to the internet of the 90s.
Yeah, and people don't want that. They enjoy comfort, but then yeah, oh well,
It's
I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole.
no,
But
no, no, but you
like,
understand what I'm saying. It's a
yeah,
whole
I agree. I agree.
it's a whole like messy topic. That's why I can't judge people, in my personal opinion, for using it. I have to let everybody make their own decision. But
I
for
agree
me,
with you that
it's not.
they should have a section that's like
Yeah,
these are AI created stories,
yeah.
and that gives you the option to be like, all right, I'll put money on it.
I just want to say hi to Super D, and if who was that other one I said that said hello? Um, Art of Victor Medina. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you don't know Super D, do you know? Oh man, which is the one he's doing right now? I'm blanking. You've been on the show. You have Pen and Ink, Life of Kuan. How do you say it? I'm so bad. Damn it, man. Fantastic uh, comic strip artist.
Hmm.
I'm blanking on the comic that he's doing right now. That's syndicated by King Features. It is a fantastic strip. Rosebuds. Rosebuds. If you have ever read the Rosebuds,
Okay, the
um,
rosebuds.
yeah. Just look. It's a comic strip about three sisters. It is a fantastic, fantastic, very what's the word I'm looking for? Um, it's a fun strip. It's very kind. It's a nice strip. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like that's what I say. It's not like the humor I do. Hey Dylan, um, the humor I do is usually a little darker and is
Rosebuds.
yeah, Rosebuds. It's a great strip. Like he's very influenced obviously by Garfield and by um, what else?
Found it. Okay.
Let's see, there's Garfield. You know, he's a video game guy.
This reminds me of the Sunday newspaper.
Yeah, he's. I think. I don't know if you're still watching. Do you have a Sunday strip? I forget. Like Syndicate is your. I think you're doing Sundays now. But yeah, he's. It's a really nice comic strip. I read it. I want to say I read it every day, but that's a lie. I read it a few times a week. When I remember on my own, or if it pops up in my algorithm and I see it. So I read so many things I sometimes forget about. Also, I'll go back and catch up if I can, and
Okay.
it's a very fun strip.
I
Um,
just found it, so I saved it on my list of things because I love reading indie anything because I just love seeing other people's creative views on things. So I just saw it. I like the art style right here. It did make me chuckle inside. I'm like, yeah, all right.
yeah, hold on. What do you say?
The
Yes,
daily,
daily in newspapers worldwide. That's awesome, man.
nice. Okay,
Congratulations. I didn't know it was worldwide. I just thought you were in the U.S. That's awesome.
that's pretty cool.
Let me know how many languages it's translated into. That's awesome.
All right.
Um, but yeah, it's anyway. It's there's so many great strips. I can just sit and talk to you about comic strips all day long and tell you what to
Mhm.
read and what not, or what I recommend. I won't say you have to,
I'm
but
down
yeah,
for recommendations.
yeah, it's a very interesting interesting community we're in here, and I love that I get to meet so many through this show. I love that I get to chat with so many people. Like outside, if you didn't contact me, because I commented in someone else's post and you saw it, I guess, and
Yeah.
and contacted me, and I'm like, yeah, I'll bring you on after I saw what you were doing. I'm like, this looks cool, and then you
Okay.
sent me the book. I don't know, like a week ago or a couple of weeks ago, whenever it was. I didn't get to read it till today, honestly, and
Fine.
it was like a good maybe 40 minutes before the show began because I've been so busy with the scanning, with all that other stuff, and
Cool.
I'm like, this was so. I'm like, oh my god, I can't wait for issue 2. Well,
I have fun with this one, and the backup story is like a murder mystery that you're working
yeah,
um to like the backup story is about Cold Star.
and that was the guy who gave him the gun.
Yes, and
Yeah,
we'll say he's Abin Sur. Cold
yeah,
Star is Abin Sur, and he has a whole different personality than Coyote. He's more of the he was used to living off the land, and he made a deal because he needed revenge for his family being killed. So he has his own story. But I wanted to do like a mini series to show the connection of okay, leading up to his death, what led him to the first issue? Like what led him to being in that alley when Coyote went down there to check on somebody.
mhm,
So it's like a little 5-page mini that's gonna be in. I was trying to do the math right. I might be off a little bit, but in at least the first 5 books, I'm trying to put it together right where it'll end with like the beginning of okay, bam, it connects. But it's like a murder mystery where you're learning, oh, what happened to him, and if the gun can. And the biggest thing is like, if the gun can use souls to heal people, why didn't it heal him? And it's like, oh, okay,
let me, as a writer,
yeah,
this is coming as a writer. How do you find writing a murder mystery? Do you have experience? Like, I'm not saying were you a cop? Obviously, you were in the Navy, and I'm not saying there was anything going on. But
right.
like, where do you get the experience to write a murder mystery? Like, how do you go about thinking about thinking about that type of thing if you don't? because they always say write what you know,
Right, right.
you know. So, I mean, if
Uh,
there's anything that it's classified, please don't say it. I don't want it to.
Nothing classified. It's just really I watch a lot. I watch a lot of everything. Like I'll watch a lot of entertainment. I watch a lot of media. And then, you find yourself I love murder mysteries where it's obviously right in front of you the whole time, but you're struggling to figure it out. I love puzzles like that. That gets me excited. And I had the main story, and then when I was like, okay, I'm just gonna have the story about Coyote. And then I was like, okay, but we got Cold Star, and he's a badass character, and I love his design, and I wanted people to be like, invested in him. I'm like, how do I get people invested in him? Okay, well, a murder mystery would be great. Like,
Yeah,
how did he even get killed in the first place? So then you're kind of reconstructing a story. You're working the story backwards, and that's
yeah,
been fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know where that story ends, but then I've had to go back and be like, okay, from that, work it backwards to what you get. And that's just been me playing with it in the sandbox. Like,
okay,
okay, okay. And then this could have happened. And then I made that stuff all hint or connect towards the main story. The main story I know where it's gonna end. And if people love it enough, I know how I could keep it going. I have two different endings, and I don't know which one I want to pick yet. I'm just gonna wait till I get close to it and see what happens. Um, but that one, I was like, okay, this is how I want to do it. So no, I don't have any experience in a murder mystery, but I do enjoy them.
I know, but you learn. You watch enough, you kind of understand the pattern of how things go.
Yes.
You grew up watching, like, I think you're a little younger than me. I'm 50, but
Yeah.
I grew up in the 80s. It was A Team and Knight Rider and
Yep.
all those things. There's a formula to those shows and how they went. And when
Hmm.
you watch enough of it, you understand the formula that you can end up predicting how stuff goes. You know, and I still do it to this day, and my wife hates it because I'll like be like, okay, this is going on, this is going on. It's going to go one or two ways, and I always have. She's like, how do you do that? I'm
Well,
like,
she's like, you just can't enjoy it.
yeah, you can't. I'm a storyteller. I said, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the story. You
And I
know.
love that because I'm just like, I'm like Matlock,
Hmm.
Heat of the Night,
Oh,
Knight Rider. Like
yeah,
that's the stuff I grew up watching because my parents were into that and
yeah,
they knew nothing of modern stuff. So I just watched reruns of old shows. So there's a lot of mysteries. And I
yeah,
was just like, oh, okay. Oh, like I said, patterns. I love patterns. So it was like, okay,
yeah,
where's
yeah.
the pattern going to lead in this story?
I taught a visual storytelling class for almost 20 years.
Hmm.
And one of the things I talked about was formula in TV shows. It was one of my favorite topics because I'd be like, let's look at a sitcom, and I'd be like, I don't remember the exact number, but I'm like, there's maybe 10 stories that you could do in a sitcom,
Right.
and they've all been done, and we can go back and look at Dennis the Menace from the 50s, see it in the Big Bang Theory now. I was like,
Hmm.
it's just little tweaks. In Dennis the Menace, you're looking at who was he supposed to be, 8 or 10 years old or whatever, but now you adjust it to a 30-year-old person and
And
what's
it can
there.
work.
And I'm like, it works. It works. I did it. It was funny. I remember talking to my wife about it. And I think my favorite sitcom of all time is the Dick Van Dyke Show. I think that is the greatest sitcom. It is probably the funniest thing I've ever seen, and
Okay.
it's one of the few sitcoms that I've watched where I feel like I can believe that the couple is actually married.
Hmm.
There's very few. Like, I was watching reruns of Mad About You the other day with my wife, and she was like, "Why do you like this show so much?" And I'm not a big sitcom guy.
Yeah.
I said, because they actually feel like they're married. Like it felt like a relationship was actually there,
And
and
you
not,
forget they're actors.
yeah, like that was the thing. Like, I'm like, they make it believable.
Hmm.
Others don't. It's just what it is, and I'm
Yeah.
like, that's one of the reasons I really enjoy that show. And I'm like, it's the believability. I mean, and is it funny? Yeah, it's funny for the '90s. I don't know if everything is still cracks me up today,
Yeah,
but the Dick Van Dyke Show every time. That show is the greatest freaking show on the planet.
it's funny.
And I love it. I don't know if you've ever watched it, but it's
I see my dad. He used to tell me that it was my dad and my grandpa. They used to tell me about this show, and I never watched it,
mm,
but he put on like Gilligan's Island and stuff like that.
uh, I think it's on Tubi or something, so you can always go check it out.
Okay.
Uh, now I'm not saying again you have to. I'm just saying you can. It's to me it makes me love. It's one of those shows that like when I feel like crap, I'm
Hmm.
just gonna it's gonna get me out of whatever bad mood I'm in. You know
And we
that
all need that.
yeah. So that's one of those shows. But yeah, I mean there's a formula to everything, and once you find it, you know, people are always going to watch these shows over and over again,
Yeah.
and they're going to continue each week, even though it's the same story each week in a way, you know. Um,
I feel like sometimes they watch it to see if it's going to go the opposite direction of what they think, and then I think sometimes that gives you a little bit more. Mary Tyler Moore show.
who's asking that? Uh,
Lynn Malkovich. Malkovich.
I'm sorry, I just don't have my glasses on. Whoops, I mean I have them on. I can't see. It's an issue with where it is. Did you? Okay, so yes, I enjoyed the Mary Tyler Moore show, but it was different, and after a while, it's kind of the same story, but it's um oh what's his name? Why am I blanking the name? Um, Too Close for Comfort guy, the one that Ted Knight, best part of the show.
Okay.
Was the chemistry between Dick Van Dyke and Mary Tyler Moore? That no, it was. I think yeah, I believe they were a couple. They were. I mean, the humor in there was great. It was basically the story of Carl Reiner, being a comedy writer and raising a kid and stuff and going home to his wife and everything. And it was because Carl Reiner played the boss,
Okay.
played the boss on the show, but it was his story. It was all about what it was like in a writer's room, although I think that's a little exaggerated of the era. And but at the home stuff, they really just felt like a couple. Their chemistry was good. I think you could see there was like sexual tension between them,
Hmm.
but from my understanding, they never explored it in real life. But you could see that there was, so it was kind of believable. It was
MASH he said MASH was the only
home.
sitcom that consistently reinvented itself. I grew up watching MASH
Yeah,
a lot, and I could watch it now and still laugh.
yeah, absolutely. They did get experiment with stuff, but I do think there was kind of the same, you know, because the whole story, especially when Alan Alda got control of it, was just war is bad, And I'm not going to say I disagree with that,
Yeah.
but it was his when he was in charge of it. It just became preachy, in my opinion, a little bit.
Don't mind me. I'm shifting rooms.
Do what you have to do. I'm sorry. I've captured. What have we been at here? Uh,
About an
yes,
hour.
he was much younger than Dick Van Dyke. Um,
Go ahead.
Dude, we've been on here for over an hour and 30 minutes. If you need to, I can let you go. Uh,
No, no, no. I'm good. I'm just moving to a new location.
yeah, I'm having a good time chatting, but we're off your comic, which is what it was about. That's what happens on this show. We go off on tangents constantly. The Dick Van Dyke Show Oh, I didn't. Oh, yeah, he was the delivery guy in some of the episodes, right? With the food cart, I think.
Hold on
Uh,
1 minute. I'm gonna get my light while you're.
yeah,
I'll be
yeah,
right
no,
back.
that's right, Jamie Farr, man. I love all that. I love all the old stuff. I was a Nick at Night kid, Mr. Ed and all those shows. That was my middle school and high school years back when Nick and Night actually existed. Um, and then I spoke with Jamie on a radio interview about about it. And he was the sandwich delivery guy. I remember the food cart. He'd come in and he would talk about how the shows weren't good last night, and make jokes about what they ideas on what they should do and how to fix it. And it was a fun show. And I think, and he always had a little thing with Buddy, I think. No, or Sally. Sally. I'll see you later, Dylan. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, no, that was a fun show. I'm trying to think if there was any other shows that I thoroughly enjoyed that I could chat about, but I don't know. That was my stuff. Well, let me ask Will. What since we're on the topic of sitcoms or old TV shows, what was it of yours that you like enjoyed or can always go back to and watch over and over again?
As far as sitcoms, I watched. See, I grew up watching like that '70s show and stuff like that.
Yeah, I watched that too. That was a good show.
My daughter, she's discovered it now, so she's watching that '70s show, and I'm looking at, I'm like, I probably shouldn't have been watching this at that time, but
It was a sitcom. I was again. I talk to my wife mostly, obviously, and we have conversations. And we were watching reruns of The Big Bang Theory, and there was a scene where Penny was in something very revealing, and I'm like, if I remember correctly, the show was on at 8 p.m. It wasn't like, and I'm the furthest thing from a prude, but I was like, should this have been? And I'm against censorship, by the way, too.
gotcha.
But should this have been on at that time when it's like family hour on TV? Like I again, not a prude, not into censorship,
I
but
get it though. I started
but
asking these questions now where I'm like, I really
well,
didn't think
you're
about it.
a parent. I'm not a parent. I don't. I just question what the hell's going on with stuff.
Yeah, I'm just like, should I have been? I was like, the damage is done now, so
Yeah,
it is what it is.
yeah. There was one thing I remember getting angry at with Big Bang Theory. It was the episode where Sheldon got addicted to caffeine or something,
Hmm.
and he went to a vending machine, and the Flash appeared to him, and he was like, "How do you think we get our powers? Everything's drugs." And it was like a drug pusher, and I'm like, number one, I don't like that they made the Flash number one a drug dealer. Like don't make superheroes that kids look up to as a
Yeah,
drug
that's not a good look.
pusher. And number two, then following week on for me it's Channel 11,
Yeah,
the CW show.
the
The
Flash.
Flash was going to premiere.
Oh my
I'm like, you're
god,
doing that the week before he's a pusher. I'm like, come on.
they didn't think that through.
Yeah. Was it
Um,
in syndication? The Family Hour goes out the window. Yeah, I get that. Uh, you seem to have a lot of knowledge of that industry there, Len. Uh, so, but yeah, I don't know. There's a lot. I mean, listen, that '70s show is a great show. Did you end up watching that '90s show?
she's watching that '90s show now, so I'm letting her fill me in on it because
Yeah.
out of all my kids, she loves sitcoms the most, which
Mhm.
I find very interesting. She's watching a lot of older sitcoms instead of like modern day, and I'm like, hey, you're watching TV. I'm just happy that you're watching something. So
Yeah,
she's my theater kid.
that's cool. But my nephews are the same way. I mean, they're all in their 20s now, but like they'll watch like reruns or well, I don't know if they stream old sitcoms like going back to the '80s, like Family Ties and
Yeah,
all those things, Different Strokes and all that. I'm like, and they love that stuff. They think it's hysterical. They watch. I remember them telling me they enjoyed Full House, and I'm like, okay, I question you there because even as a kid, I knew Full House was terrible. But you watch it every week with TGIF. It was
Mhm.
it was just one of those things. But hold on, what is it? Goes. Let me
Family
just.
Matters. I
Yeah,
watched all that stuff.
didn't DC change Our Man because he took a pill for his superpowers? Nobody had the problem with Underdog or Popeye. I've actually had the conversation about Underdog recently with him being because he had his ring with the pill with the magic
Uh
pill.
huh.
or
I
whatever.
do remember Underdog. I used
Yeah.
to watch that before I went to school.
And, Popeye with his spinach, and now that Popeye's in public domain, I actually have an origin issue where even though spinach isn't in public domain right now, but it hints to how he gets his strength through
Interesting.
spinach. And I'm like, it's he's public domain. Should I do it? Shouldn't I do it?
Should
I
I do it? If you gotta ask, yes, do
Well,
it.
no, because here's the thing, and I love public domain characters, not because I have access to it. I just love the idea of what I can do. Especially, I mean, the ones I like to use are like the mythological characters, Robin Hood, King Arthur, things like that.
Mhm.
But um, I want to do some like when like Steamboat Willie version of Mickey Mouse, Plain Crazy. They're in public domain. Winnie the Pooh is in public domain, but not Disney's version. Popeye's in public domain right now, and but it's only up to the 1929 when he appeared for the first time.
Hmm.
So it's like you can only use what was in the Thimble Theater strip up into that year, you know. And
Okay. Okay.
I'm like, okay, that's interesting.
What would you do with it?
Well, I mean, I have ideas, but you'd have to technically draw him in that style from 1929
Yeah.
because that's the style in public domain, not the Fleischer cartoons, not the stuff that came later when they redesigned him and he looks better. It's where he's got this more triangular head. He looks different. And I'm like, it could be fun, but I don't want to draw like that. Um, you know, what's it? He goes. Len says, "I made the biggest mistake a comic writer could ever do. I made a character rhyme like Underdog with his dialogue. Don't do. Oh, that's fun. I've written stories with rhyming characters. I like that stuff.
I
But I
think
like
I mean I go with like Etrigan from DC, the demon, and he does his rhyming, and I was like, that seems tiring, but he does it and it's fun.
yeah, no, it is. I think I watched too much Yogi Bear as a kid. That that's where I get the rhyming from. You know,
Hmm.
because I'll do that to my wife. I'll just start talking, and it's almost like I don't want to. Yeah, I guess it's almost like I'm rapping or something, or I'm just constantly rhyming everything in my.
Hmm.
And she's just like, "How do you do? Just stop. Just stop." So careful because trademark that copyright are two different things. So even in public domain, yeah. So here's the thing about that. In trademark, Popeye's name, I can't use. I can use it in the book. I can't use it on the cover.
Hmm.
Because that trademark. Now there are certain looks that I can like are usable, obviously, because people talk about this with Captain Marvel, the Shazam one, a
Yeah.
lot. I would never touch that character. I would never touch any of the quality characters um, that DC eventually got, like
Yeah.
Blue Beetle and all those guys. Even though I love them, they're public and there are public domain versions of them because the quality comics. I don't remember if they never copywrote their stories or if they just expired, but those guys are in public domain. The
Yeah.
Fawcett City Comics are the Fawcett Comics of Captain Marvel and a couple of others are
Yeah.
public domain. But you can't use that terminology. You can't use um, you can't use. I mean, there's certain things you can't use. Certain characters can't use certain styles of costume. When
Yeah.
Superman goes into public domain, what's that in early 30s, I believe.
Hmm.
You can only use that first costume. There's no Lois Lane. There's no Perry White. There's no Lex Luthor. There's no Kryptonite. You
So
know,
what do you have at that point? You guys got a
yeah,
strong man.
you got only that. Same thing that's going to happen with Batman. You know, you got only those characters and any villains. What did you say? Frankenstein
I
is
saw that.
trademarked by Universal, but the character. Well, it's I didn't know they. I think they own the rights to the movies. I don't think they could trademark the name because you could trademark in categories.
Hmm.
So and hi to I don't know who that is. James. Oh, James. Hey
James
man.
Burton angry.
Yeah.
It was it was one that I was at a doctor's office and I just got this bug up my ass about this story about Willy Wonka. And I wanted to write like a horror story of Willy Wonka where, is and I was like, is he in the public domain? And if so, and I think Warner Brother owns him.
Yeah. No, he's not in public domain to my knowledge.
I was like, shit. But I had a
But
story and everything, and I was just like, because he plays crazy enough, in the original Willy Wonka movie, and I was like, I want that level of unhinged, just full throttle, and
yeah.
where it's like a grim adventures kind of story.
Okay. I could see that. That might be fun. I mean, listen, there's no reason it can't be pitched to somebody. I mean, if you can stay with the, I mean, you can't publish it, but if you can pitch it to the company that
Yeah.
owns it, what do they? Oh, and they own the look, the flat head. Oh, okay. So they have the look.
Hmm.
If you use all of that, then you'll get. Oh, well, here's the thing. Okay, so the name in trademark, they may only own it in the movies because it is a book, and the book is so old. I don't know if they can actually trademark the name in print as Frankenstein. Um, but the look of their own version they can trademark. Now, the only one that is, from my understanding, because I've looked into this, and if you read the original Frankenstein or seen any of the other movies outside of the 30s Frankenstein, he's not the flat top head Frankenstein. He's a human. He looks like a human. He doesn't have the bolts actually.
Hmm.
So there are things that are different that you don't. But if you there's a what's it called? The only one I understand that there's issues officially with is the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Mm,
That is, he goes by Gilman, as I think they refer to him as. He's the only one that there's actual issues with. Uh,
really?
with using his look. Horror Wonka can be done in the in a lot. Oh, it can be done in a lot of ways. I mean, yeah. I mean, listen, I'm not a horror fan. Like in on TV or film, I'll read it in a comic or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But I don't like to watch it, like see it visually. Although I love all the old Universal monster movies. It's it's a slippery slope when you're using public domain. So I try to stay away from public domain like superheroes.
Yeah.
Um, but I like to go into the world of mythology. There are characters in the superhero world I've wanted to play with, but
Mhm.
again, I don't know with the public domain if I want to actually do that. I think playing with the characters of myth, you have
Yeah.
you're open to a lot more variety of what you can do. You're not limited because the comics you're limited to what happened within the era of the comics,
Yeah.
or if the comics haven't been the characters aren't owned by another company or haven't
Mhm.
been done, then you could redefine the world or whatever and do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
But I think that's too much to deal with. I think if I say, "Hey, I want to do a Thor story,"
Right.
Marvel's not going to come after me if unless I make him, blonde hair.
Hemsworth. Yeah.
Yeah, he's Marvel's Thor. But if I said, "Hey, listen, he's a Viking. He's got red hair. He's got a beard. He's got giant braids coming down. He's got a horned helmet instead of the winged helmet," you
Yep.
know, and Mjolnir looks a little different, maybe more traditional of what a Viking Warhammer looked like
Mhm.
at the time. I'm okay with my Thor.
It's
They
funny you said that because
said,
he that's in my story I wrote. That's the last chapter. They go to Asgard,
"Oh,
and
the book you were telling me about, yeah,
yeah, the mythology. So the last place because they go from Africa to Neo America, Egypt, and then they go to Asgard. And then they meet Thor. And when I was first writing, I was like, is Thor in public domain? And then exactly what you said, it was like, I looked it up and it was like, as long as it's not MCU Thor. And I was like, I didn't want that Thor anyway. I don't.
Yeah,
That's not the Thor I think of.
yeah.
Like kills giants and it's not a good guy. you know.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's a show I need to finish. It's on Netflix. Um, something of the gods, I think it was called. I gotta look it up. But it's a very bloody take on
I know what you're talking about. Is it Twilight of the Gods or something?
Twilight of the Gods. That I have to finish the show, but I'm like, this is an amazing interpretation of
I
what's
love
going.
I started it and I didn't finish it either. And it wasn't because it was bad. I got distracted and I never went back.
That's what happened to me.
And I was like, oh, it's good. I like this.
I would never do work like that because one of the things I always do about I keep my work. I want to say it's family friendly. Let's say that it's my basic rule is so it might be like PG 13, but my basic rule is if it wouldn't have been shown on like Batman the animated series or Star Wars, it's
Mhm.
not going to be in my stuff. Like that's the level of
Okay.
sexuality and violence I'll get into and horror. I don't want. I always think, and this just might be my influences or whatever. Um, I always think I want a 7-year-old to buy my book, but be
Mm.
able to sit down with their parents or their grandparents or their uncle or their cousins, and everyone could enjoy the book in some way.
Hmm.
You know, like I hope the kids go on a fun adventure and their imaginations are sparked to maybe create their own stuff or want to read the next book. And I want to look at, and I would hope that the older audience is looking at this and saying, that was just fun. That was a nice story. That was a fun story. And I'm really glad I could enjoy it with someone like my nephew or my kid or whatever, and just be like, I want that type of, you know, connection with the stories, you know.
American Gods. That was my I
Oh,
loved
I
American
never
Gods.
that show. I never read the book, but I never finished the series. It was one of those things my wife and I started and we stopped it and just never went back for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And now it's years later and it's like, oh, I got to start over. And
Well, it was going well and then they canceled it. And that's one of those shows where I was like, it had so much potential. And it was starting to get good and then it just didn't stay. And I was upset when they canceled it. And I've been slowly collecting the issues out of like dollar bins where I find, and I'm like, eventually I'll have the whole set.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It wasn't. I mean, I enjoyed the show for what it was. It just I don't know what it was. Maybe it didn't catch on to my wife or whatever. Because there's a lot of shows where she'll like stop
Yeah,
and like she's like, "Nah, I'm not in the mood for it tonight." Then the next time, I'm not in the mood for it tonight, so we'll watch
please
other
never go
stuff.
back.
And I'm like, I gotta watch it. Like I'm honestly, what is it? Tulsa King is like that for us. Like she hasn't. I haven't watched it. I haven't watched the last like 2 seasons, I think, or the last season and a half or whatever. And I'm like, I gotta sit down and watch it. I
And
gotta
that
watch.
was really good. And that's funny because
Yeah,
uh,
go ahead.
my wife, she got me, we watched it together,
Hmm.
and then it was the same thing. She didn't want to watch it. And I was like, well, we're getting further behind. And just randomly one day she put it on, and I walk in the room, and I'm like, kind of like, how dare you? Like, you start this without me? And then we finished it. And like, she just binge watched it. And I was just like, oh, okay. Well, I guess this is what we're doing. And it was good. It's really good.
No, it is, and I'm a big Stallone fan. Like when we were talking about like movies earlier, like I was asking what's your favorite, like sitcom or show that makes you. I don't care how what mood I'm in. I'll always put First Blood on. It's like one of my all-time favorite movies,
Hmm.
and I've watched like every Stallone film, maybe except for one, I think, and but I love all those. I'm from that era. I was born in '76, so growing up with all the blow 'em up movies with, Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Kurt Russell,
Yeah.
all
Did
those guys are like my like movie heroes, and then And then we get John Wick, and I'm like, oh, it's like a flashback to all that stuff I love.
John Wick was good,
Yeah.
and and it's a few issues later on in Soul Blaster where I was writing, I was like, I want a John Wick vibe here, and I was telling my wife about it last night. She was like, "No, don't do that to the main character," and I'm like, it's gonna be good.
I'll be honest. I've always loved fantasy stories like Conan and stuff,
Yeah.
and I've had this idea, and I just told you how I like my books to be done. But I've
Mhm.
had this very, very violent fantasy barbarian story in there that it's like old school, 70s, 80s barbarian, like gratuitous nudity and violence for no reason type of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, I got this great idea. I said, but I can't publish it. So it's been sitting in my head. And a friend of mine is like, listen, if you want to draw it, we'll publish it because that's the type of stuff we publish. So I got
Yeah.
to send him the outline. And I think I'll just get it out of my system drawing something like that. But it was because of John Wick. I'm like seeing all this violence going on. And
Hmm.
like, and I started thinking about all the movies and how much like I literally watch First Blood maybe 6 times a year. Like
Yeah.
I will watch it at least that many. If it's on TV, I stop. I
Hmm.
watch. I know it almost line for line. In some scenes I forget, but I'm just like, you know, it's just amazing to me, But I was
Hmm.
watching, I'm like, oh my God, how cool would this be if this was a fantasy story and they're not using guns, but like they're dropping swords constantly, and I'm like, holy crap, how cool! And so all of a sudden I got this idea, and I'm like, I can't do this. I can't publish this.
Ah,
I'm like, because it goes against
your
what I
code.
want my audience to buy.
Mhm.
But like I said, what I put out. So if my friend puts it out and my name's attached to it, I'm not going to be upset.
But there you go.
Or
Sounds
if I
like a
have
good
to
idea.
create a fake name, I'll do that. But you
I
know,
have to show you some pages I got done from the Norse story because that's one of those I've been slowly when I get a little extra change, I'll slide, the artists who I've found for those chapters. I'm like, hey, can you do a page here and there? But for
yeah,
the Norse one, he does stuff like you're talking. He loves barbarian Viking.
yeah,
And I was like, yeah, I want the Norse story to be gritty and cold, and it just looks miserable.
absolutely. That's. I love watching that. I love reading that. I just don't like drawing it myself. You know what I mean? So it's
Okay,
just
okay.
it's so weird for that. Like
Oh,
because like I draw, I'm working on this idea of a manga. I love the giant robot stuff, Amazing or Gigantor, Transformers, all as I grew up on all that stuff, and I
yeah.
love it. And so I'm doing something that's a tribute to like 70s manga giant robot stuff right now.
Is it like
So,
Gundam kind of, or
well, it's not a Gundam story, but yeah, Gundam. Well, it's the story basically is
sorry.
what if I don't. This is how I'm selling it. What
Yeah.
if the Swiss Family Robinson lived on Voltron?
Hmm,
You know, like
okay.
that's the story. So I have the first book written out. I have the rest of the stuff plotted, and and I'm doing it in that like it's going to be about 120 pages total,
Yeah.
and this is something I'm drawing. So like I'll go back, and I've been drawing a lot more of like vintage manga stuff,
Mm,
I'm really enjoying. But when I say I'm going to draw like a superhero, I'm finding my style is now a little too manga influenced because I used to follow like Gil Kane and Wally Wood and Kirby and all, Will
yeah.
Eisner. Those were like my comic book influences,
Yeah.
and I'd be drawing like I don't want to say in their style, but you could see in their you could see it with a very animated because I have an animation background and I learned how to draw a lot of animated characters when I was a
Yeah.
kid. That like like I build it almost like it's maybe like the Bionic Six or Thundar or something, like how
Like our
you
robotic six. Yeah.
for all those like in that style, and then when I add the details, it usually and now everything's like manga, and I'm like I got to stop this. I need to stop, but I haven't finished the story yet, so
Well, what's the worst if it came out in a manga
no, I'm not
format?
upset by it at all, and I've been rewatching on Crunchyroll Yu Yu Hakusho right now, because I love that in the '90s. That was like one of my favorites.
That is
And,
my, I forgot, that is one of my favorites. Before Bleach and all that, I was a huge, I've rewatched that one over and over, and that's my comfort.
yeah, this is
That's
my
my comfort.
rewatching it since its original airing in America here.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Dark
oh,
Tournament, all of
yeah,
that.
that's what I'm in right now. I'm in the
Okay,
tournament
okay, yeah,
now,
yeah.
and oh, and then I'm talking to my friend about it today, and I know I should let you go. We're sidetracking a lot here, but I'm like, what bothers me about this show? I'm sitting here watching it, and I'm in the tournament section,
Hmm.
and I don't know why. I said it came to me a few episodes ago. I'm like, why is this Dragon Ball? Why is this? This is every freaking anime that's come out since Dragon Ball is
Has been
Dragon Ball.
Dragon Ball.
Everybody
Yeah,
needs power ups. It's Naruto. It's whatever you name. It's everybody's just trying to get powered up and
yeah.
prove that their skills. And I'm like, listen, I loved the original Dragon Ball, not Z. I mean, I watched it, and Z's okay, but the original when Goku was a kid,
Yeah.
that
Okay.
is my all-time favorite version of Dragon Ball. And I loved it because it was so different. Because, like I mentioned, I love Battle of the Planets. I was a Star Blazers fan.
Hmm.
Like all those old cartoons, I
Yeah.
love them. And I think those to me were like, and I didn't know they were anime at the time. To me, they were just cartoons.
Right.
But I loved all that stuff. And then Dragon Ball came out in America late '90s, no, early '90s or late '80s or
Yeah.
something. And I remember watching it as a kid. I didn't remember what it was until I rewatched it on
Hmm.
Crunchyroll a couple of years ago, and I was like, "Oh, I remember this. I remember." I'm like, "This was fast," and I love it. It had a great humor to it. It was a fun
Hmm.
adventure story, and then it was just Goku trying to, I love that he got his ass kicked. I loved
Yes.
so much about it. I was like, "This is so good."
This is shonen, and this
Yeah,
is that inspires. I think almost everything that I write is inspired by manga.
yeah,
And even if it's, shoot, Dreamwalker is, it's supposed to be. And I think when I did the first issue of that,
mhm,
I went back and I thought about it, and I was like, okay, what I'm gonna do is, and that's in black and white because
yeah.
I was like, I wanted to get enough issues made where I could make it traditionally in the Japanese style where you read, from
So it's
right to left.
backwards, right to left.
Yep. And I
Awesome.
was like, I want to get enough built, and then I'm gonna sell it or put it out there once I get it big enough, like you said, where you can sell it for $15, but you got 100 and something 30, 130 pages.
Yeah,
And I was like, I have enough story already written that I can put it. I just have to get it done.
yeah.
So
No,
I'm making like a season where it's like, okay, Soul Blaster now, and then we'll go into the Lost Pack, so I can get at least the first book of that, and then we'll come back to Dreamwalker, and then I'll kind of put that together. So
yeah.
I got my schedule revolving around those three stories.
Yeah, because one of the things that I'm doing with this one, the reason it's taken me so long to produce, and I'm only working on like the first 24 pages right now, is because I'm working in a way to develop that I can switch the panels so I could do one as an American release in how we
Mm,
are comfortable reading, and then
mm,
I could just digitally swap the panels and have a manga style because I know a few people who are professional manga stylers, and one of the things they've always told me is it's only manga. It's a manga if it reads from right to left. Otherwise, it's influenced, if you will.
yep,
And
it's influenced.
it's a manga. It's influenced by manga. Because I've talked with other artists. There's artists. I was just talking to a friend of mine. He's like, "Oh, I hate the style. Everybody's spiky hair." I'm like, "No, no, no, no. That started later." I go back and watch some other stuff, and I'm like, because when I was younger and I was studying, and I'm like, everybody looks the same. It wasn't until I really sat down and got into it that I understood the difference in styles. You
Hmm.
know, um, and I think it's really cool. But there's a lot of spiky haired kids, and now
Everybody
everybody,
looks. You just change the eyes, and but I like Yu Hakusho. I love because I just like Yusuke's personality. He's just like
yeah,
babies, old ladies, out of he's like everybody can get these hands. He's like everybody can get it, and I love him. And that's why I see that. And then in my mind, it evolves from Yu Yu Hakusho. You get into Bleach, and then
Mhm.
you go from Bleach and you go into Jujutsu Kaisen. And I'm like, they're all kind of the same story,
Yeah.
just different eras. And I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah, I haven't gotten into which one you said? Jujutsu Kaisen. I've read the first six of Bleach. I had a friend, and she's like, "Bleach is amazing. You gotta read it. You got," because I'm like, I'm not gonna watch it. I never watched it. I probably won't watch it.
All right.
And so I went to where was I? I was at Newberry Comics, and they were having like a deal, and they're big. They have a big manga section, and it
Yeah.
was like, so I got the book for like whatever, $15-$20, like the when they do the collection of the three books together.
Yeah.
Um, I got it for like $7. So I was like, okay, because it was like you buy two get one at a discount or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll get this as my discounted book, and so I got it like I said for like $7. I read the first three while I was on vacation. Before I left, I was in Florida. Before I left Florida, I bought the next three,
Yeah.
and I was like, and so I read that. Well, I read the first two. I haven't read the last one yet. But I'm like, okay, I can see how people get obsessed with it. And I was talking to people about like you're not even at the good part yet. I go, but I see what they're doing and what they're building, and I can see how people get obsessed with it.
Yeah.
And just it's like so maybe one day I'll go sit down and watch it because I don't have room to constantly buy the books. Um, and I do
It's
have the
worth.
Shonen Jump app, but I just
I got the app too. I don't use it.
oh no, no,
It's
that's like my night. If I don't want to watch something,
yeah.
I'll open up the app and I'll read like a couple of chapters of a book, and I'll jump around. So it's not always the same book every night, unless I'm really into the story. You
It's
know?
funny though with like Bleach. The last season will be airing this year
Yeah.
because it was like such a gap. Like I think I was in high school when it stopped, and then it started back a few like 2 years ago, and I was like, Jesus Christ, it's been like 15, 20 years. And then they were like, oh, we're finally gonna because they did the manga of the last season of the last, the 1,000 Year Blood War, but it was rushed because the writer was sick. And now that he's better, he's like, I get to add stuff that I couldn't do back then and extend it. So in the anime, he's adding like new chapters and new stories, and it's like,
That's cool.
and it's like if you're like a Bleach fan, you like people are like that last chapter kind of sucked because he rushed it, and now you get to see what he always wanted. So it's like fulfilling. It's like this is good. So they're doing it as like a movie in July. So I told my wife, I was like, I don't care what's going on in July. I'm going to the movies and I'm gonna watch this Bleach.
Yeah.
And, don't but yeah. Soul Blaster is Kickstarter's coming out in June.
June. Yes, June 1st,
June
which is
1st.
2 weeks away. Right? Not
2
this
weeks
coming Monday, the following Monday.
the following after.
Yeah.
Um it's the cool thing about this one is I did a tier on the first Kickstarter where I think it was the $100 tier, but it was a cameo tier. So you got everything that I was offering, and you also got to be a cameo in the next issue. So two
Oh,
people bought that one, and this morning I was sending my artists because we're in two different time zones. So was
mhm.
it last night? It was like 1 in the morning, and I was sending because I'm close friends with both people, so I was sending them pictures. And then I wake up and then I look at my phone and he's like, "Hey, what do you think about these sketches?" And I was like, this is gonna be cool." So I had to write in a whole arc, not really an arc, but the ending of the story revolves around like some stuff that involves these two people. And I think it's gonna be cool to
Are you
see
gonna
them.
have them killed off or something like from the
No,
fall? No.
I have them as they're bounty hunters
Okay.
and they're in the universe and they work for the same company, but Coyote is like the MVP. He's the one that he's the cash cow that everybody's like, this guy, he makes the biggest money. He gets the biggest bounties. But these guys are two other bounty hunters that he knows. And it's one of those scenes where he's like, where you guys been? Like, I haven't seen you in years, kind of thing. And it's
Yeah.
like, it was cool. And so yeah, this Kickstarter is coming out. I'm doing the same thing. So if someone
That's,
wants to add a character, if they want to be a character in a story, cool.
uh,
Or they can have their own original character put into that universe. Like,
Wow,
I
that's
thought
pretty
that'd be
cool.
dope.
Yeah, I have a friend who did a Kickstarter. He did something like that, but it was like get killed in my comic, and
Oh,
so
that'd be cool.
it was so he limited it, but they had to think of creative ways to kill people in their comic.
I like that. I
Yeah,
like
it was a horror comic, so it was like have the guy kill you.
Yeah.
Oh, and it was
So yeah, it's I'm I'm excited to see where this goes.
yeah,
My biggest pitch is like I think you talked about in the beginning where you was like, "Oh, I can see this animated." That I think Devil May Cry when it came out last year, I was like, "I want a show." I was like, "I want a show on Netflix." Because I loved Devil May Cry. I loved what they did with it. A lot of people complain, but I was like, "This is actually really good."
yeah,
And so when I'm writing a story for Soul Blaster and I'm talking to the artist, I'm playing it as if I'm watching it as an episode, because I want to be able to go and be like, "Hey, it's already done. Just do the thing. It's right here.
yeah.
Just animate it. That's all you gotta do."
Let me tell you, because I think at the time now we're going at what 2.5 hours, 3 hours.
Yeah, I gotta let you go.
Yeah, it's almost time. So listen, number one, thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing and just letting us sidetrack and have fun conversations. It was a
Yeah,
great time. Um, I already clicked the notify me when this goes live, so I don't
thank you.
forget about it. You guys, please go on to his Kickstarter for Soul Blaster, um, and get notified too. It's for issue 2, The Birth of a Legend, as it's subtitled there. And yeah, no, I mean, listen, the first book I read, it was a great story, great introduction to what's going on. Um, I really think you have something here for a nice extended series. I don't know how many issues you have planned, but I'm looking forward to seeing how this story develops.
Thank you.
Yeah. So with that, I'm going to let you go. I want to say again, thank you, you guys. I'll be back next week with another guest. I'd have to look up who it is right now. I don't remember all my guests off the top of my head,
That's
but we have a lot of. I have honestly, I have every Wednesday booked
mhm.
except for one up till July 15th right now.
Ooh, busy
So
man.
have great guests coming on. Some have Kickstarter, some are just people I want to chat with.
Mhm.
It's all about art, all about indie comics. It's going to be a great time. So tonight I had a lot of fun. Um, I'm looking forward to seeing what you're creating. I'm going to be checking out. Oh, before I let you go, where can people find you to follow you on social media
All
and
right. You can follow me on TikTok, I believe, is William Stone 421. I do a lot of posting on TikTok. So if you still got TikTok, you can see a lot of preview pages from the story. I only went up to a certain page count, but you can find me on Instagram at Obsidian Dream House, and you can find me on Facebook at William Stone.
awesome. Well, again, thank you for coming on. I had a blast chatting with you. Please make sure you all go get notified for this. And for those watching tonight and made comments, thank you for doing that. If you are watching in the future, thank you for watching then. Hopefully, before the end of June 30th, 2026, so you can go and back this. And like always, please, wherever you're watching me from, like, follow, subscribe, do the whole stuff. And yeah, I'll be back next week. All right, guys, you have a great rest of your night or day or whenever you're watching. Bye, guys.
All right. Peace.